Bank text line. And I'm not starting with how many days we've been without sports. Instead, I'm going to start with this one. 8 weeks from today, 56 days from today. I hope we have it. I hope we have golf as the tour schedule confirmed. Good reporting by Golf Digest. Way to go. They had the story night before last, confirmed today by the PGA Tour with an official release, just as we kind of expected for the rest of the year, including Memphis. Memphis now will be June 30th through August 2nd. As I said yesterday, we've had August finishes before. Yeah, it was hot. It'll be hot this August. But, Dave, 56 days from today, I hope we have golf balls in the air somewhere.
Man, I hadn't put it together. It's July 29th through August the 2nd. I hadn't put it together as 8 weeks. That makes it actually
that's not our
closer to me.
That's not our event. Our event's not in 8 weeks. The tour starts back in 8 weeks.
Oh, the tour. That's right. Right. The bottom line is we were asking for some corroboration from the tour. We got all the dates today. We'll go over them in a little bit. I don't know when they open up on June 11th with the Schwab if that indeed will be with people on the course.
It won't be. It won't be. The first four won't be.
The first four will not be, so we do know that. And we do know that they are expecting galleries to come, and I suspect, and we'll have Daryl Smith on at about 3:50 today to talk a little bit what the plans are, how they'll space them out. Will there be grandstands, or will it be like the old days, really, where you didn't, except maybe on 18, where you had grandstands, but everybody kind of stood behind ropes? Maybe that's the way it'll be. We'll have to ask Daryl exactly how it's going to go. But we got what we had hoped, and so really, of all the major sports, it is golf that has come up with a concrete plan to begin things, and it all starts on June 11th.
And it really puts now the ball in other sports' court, pardon the phrase, but now everybody else can start moving and maybe planning a little bit and trying to take baby steps. Football, both, especially the NFL, but even college football, they have the value of some time. The NFL a little more. I will be very surprised if college football starts on Labor Day weekend or even the weekend before, the weekend of Saturday, August 29th, that week 0 date. There's more than just the Notre Dame-Navy game that day. There aren't a lot of games, but I think 4 or 5 on the schedule. We'll be very surprised if that happens. We'll be very surprised if Labor Day weekend happens. But that's one of the things we will talk with the University of Memphis president, Dr. David Rudd. He will be our guest at 3:30. It won't be all sports questions for the president of the university, but he is very sports-oriented and knows how valuable it is. We will visit with him about that. You mentioned Daryl Smith at 3:50. Inside Hoop City at 4 o'clock with Elliott Perry at 4:30. It's time for baseball to make some decisions. We'll talk with Tim Doolin in his regularly appointed time about baseball and going forward. Jason Munns from the Commercial Appeal, the Tigers beat writer, at 5 o'clock. And we wrap up the day at 5:47 with Taco Bell Crunch Time. Dave, I really do. I applaud. This is not to crush the recruiting guys. I'm not trying to do this. I'm here to applaud them. It's rough for them, because they're out there having to know, especially in college basketball, all the players, college football as well, all the players, all the names, all the hometowns. It's hard for them to have the crystal ball or make the prediction. So I'm really not cracking on them, because they live all the time in their world without the catch net, without the safety net. They're out there trapeze artists, and I understand that, and they do a great job with it. They're vim and vigor for it. But there are some that specialize in hot takes and big Twitter takes and scoops, and they're just not accurate very much. There are some that more resemble Barney Fife than they do news people.
Well, the bottom line is I think it's a really difficult chore, because you're dealing with kids that aren't, a lot of times aren't.
Well, don't
even
be so
18.
matter of fact then.
And you know, they really do not know. I'm going to give a tip of the cap to Brooks Hanson, who was our guest last night. He had the crystal ball up until, I want to say, 4 or 5 days ago, for Jalen Green coming to Memphis. And Jalen Green did say today in his press conference, which, by the way, could you believe he had 40,000 people watching on Instagram? And that is,
I know one that didn't.
Mind-boggling. Say that again?
I know one that didn't watch.
I don't have the capability of watching. My wife's on Instagram, but I am not. But I was still taken aback by the fact that 40,000 people got on Instagram to watch Jalen Green's decision. But Brooks Hansen nailed it for us last night when he said, yeah, the kid's going to go pro, and the reason he's going to go pro is they have this whole new elite team concept, and they're going to pay him $500,000. $500,000.
I don't blame him.
Can you imagine a G League guy? And Jeremiah Martin's not a good example because he became a two-way guy, but he started off as just a regular guy.
Jarnell Stokes.
All right, Jarnell Stokes. They're making $30,000. $30,000. And this kid is now with other elite prospects, and this is just the first year of doing this. This kid's going to make $500,000. They're only going to play like 11 G League games with this elite team. They're going to play other exhibitions. They're going to go to certain classes which get them ready for the lifestyle of the NBA. It is a whole new deal. And honestly, the NBA has declared that we are now, for the top people, the option instead of college. Don't go to college. Come with us for a year. You'll make $500,000. Then you'll get drafted, and you'll be ready for the NBA system. And make no mistake about it, that's where we are now.
It's smart. It's smart on the NBA's part. I don't blame them at all. No rancor whatsoever at them. None. Zero rancor at Jalen Green for the option he took. But I didn't really like last night when he knew what he was going to do. And I don't know if it was Memphis Tigers or Auburn Tigers because it was just Tigers paraphernalia. I don't know if I saw a university's name on it, but he knew last night he wasn't signing with either one. I just thought a little inappropriate by him. I don't blame him at all for the decision decision he made. And back to the hot take, big Twitter scoop people. I mean, you can sell. I've got inside info. I know where somebody's going. And then when they don't go, well, things change. Too bad. It's like the 10-day forecast. Well, things change. Too bad, Brett.
Bottom line is, I'm never going to stake my reputation totally on a 17-year-old kid, and I'm certainly not going to hold it against Jalen Green if he comes to Memphis in some uniform that's not a Grizz. I'm not going to boo him unmercifully because he toyed with us for a little bit. I think it would be pretty hard, seriously, for a young man who gets to stay home, that is told by the league, we want you, we're gonna make life easier for you. Oh, and by the way, we're gonna pay you $500,000. Oh, and
I couldn't be clearer. I agree with you.
It's not just $500,000, Brett. It's you're getting a shoe deal too. So there's a good chance next year that Jalen Green, instead of becoming a Tiger, he will make $1 million for the 1 year where it's really not even going to be competition. I mean, he's got to play well in these exhibition games and everything else, and he's got to toe the line and learn the system and everything else that they're going to do with this elite team, and he's got to do well with that because that is really how his draft stock will be predicated. But I think for him, it's got to be a no-brainer. How do you turn down $1 million and know, because they've invested $1 million in you, unless you flat out really drop the rope, you're going to be a first-round draft choice.
I can't be clearer. I agree with you. He made the right decision. I just don't think he should have been toying with people last night when he knew he wasn't going to anything called Tigers for next year's basketball. Will you go see him next year when he comes to town to play the Memphis Hustle?
I don't know that he will. They're only playing like 11 games. So if he does, no, I probably would not. It would have to.
I guarantee you, I won't.
I have been. Personally, I've made decisions at the age of 17 that I certainly would not tell my kids to do at the age of almost 67 now.
He's not 17.
So we mature and we do dumb things when we're young. But no, I'm not in any hurry. I mean, I've gone to one hustle game over the 2 years that they've existed. And it's not that I don't want to go or am not totally interested, and they had that great start this year. But it's just time constraint. I'm either doing a Tiger game, or if I'm around, I'd rather go to see the real thing, the Grizzlies, than to see the minor league offshoot.
That's exactly why I'm not going. I don't want to go. I've been once. I don't want to go. I'm not interested. If he makes it to the NBA, then I'll go see him then. And it's no rancor at his age or a decision that he made. Again, he made a great decision. And I think it's going to be more and more. The really poor idea, the really poor rule out there that exists is the one and done. We've got to get rid of it in college basketball. If they want to go pro, let them go pro. But once they go to college, like the baseball model, maybe not 3 years but 2 years, then they should have to stay. But the one and done, just kind of sailing through 1 year of college basketball with really no pretense of being a real student for any of them. It's not any, and well, it's abomination to call that college sports.
Well, in the end now, it for all practical purposes is done, because this decision to form this elite team, and this may be the way they go, so that they only have to pay $500,000 and weed out some of the people before they put up guaranteed 2-year deals for these guys. Now they may not change that rule where you got to be 20. What is you have to have 1 year of college or you're 21. Isn't that the way the wording works on the rule right now?
1 year removed from high school play is what it says.
1 year removed from high school play. Okay. That clearly could stay, and they'll just do this elite thing where they're going to take the top 15 guys every year, and that way it's actually a smarter business model for them, because they'll find out who's good and who's not, and it won't cost them two years of guaranteed money by the salary cap slots. So maybe this is the way it's going to go, and now college basketball is going to have to sit back and go, okay, we've just lost the top 15 guys every year, but that means we get 16, on. And we'll just start marketing those guys.
And that's what they'll have to do. Last night would have been the Grizzlies' last regular season game of the year in Houston. Instead, it was 17 games missed. If the Grizzlies had made the playoffs late last night, at some point we would have had this weekend's playoff times and matchups revealed. It would have been late night, probably as the 8th seed against the number 1 seed Lakers. This weekend would have been in Los Angeles. The following weekend, next weekend, would have been the 2 games at home for the Grizzlies. Games 3 and 4 probably would have been played at some point into next weekend, maybe Monday and Tuesday of that following week. But instead, now the NBA, they wait like everybody else to adjust, except for golf. Golf made their move yesterday, and we will talk a lot about it. I don't blame golf. I don't know if it was more aspirational, hopeful, trying to be positive, or if they really believe they're going to play golf in Fort Worth in 8 weeks from today.
Well, in all honesty, don't you think that really golf is the perfect sport to see if we're ready to come back? Honestly, because it's outside.
It's a pretty good test case
to begin with. Secondly, fans are not as close to the players as they are in other venues, particularly basketball. And we've said all along, I mean, it's a better sport on TV than it is really to watch it at the venue, because how many shots can you really see? You can watch a tournament on television a lot better. So it really lends to this decision to be the first one back perfectly. And the athletes themselves can distance themselves. You're not going to run into a guy like football or even basketball where you're going to be sweating on each other.
Will they have caddies, or those pros tote their own bag?
I'm assuming there will be caddies, and that is one of the things. We could ask Daryl Smith about that, how they will overcome that. I don't know, maybe they'll have to live together for 2 weeks once they've been cleared in order to do that. I really don't know the answer. I was thinking about that. What are you going to do, hand the guy, drop it 6 feet in front using a towel or something, or latex gloves for the caddy? I don't know how you do that. I mean, there probably is a way where you could stand 6 to 8 feet apart, And when it was time to pick a club, the guy says the club, and he walks to the ball, and he puts the club down by the ball and walks away, and the player comes and picks up the club, and then makes a shot, leaves it, and walks away, and the guy picks it up. I mean, there's probably ways you can do this.
I'm going to make a bold prediction. 8 weeks from today, this is a little bit like the big Twitter hot scoop basketball recruiting takes and Justin Timberlake and Drake being at Memphis Madness. I'm going to make a bold prediction. 8 weeks from today in Fort Worth, it's going to be hot.
Yeah. I think you can live with that one. And you know what you can say if it's not? Oh, well.
I was wrong.
Who knew?
How
can you tell the weather?
Yeah. Be Barney Fife and predicting doom and gloom. Heck, I missed. I was wrong.
Weathermen do that every night. At least, Brett, you're not in the predicament you used to be, where if you were wrong on the weather while you were planting, you really had migraines.
It's easy to go out and tell what the weather is going to be a lot of days. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis, 2600 Ridgeway, and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Call them at 901-362-8833. Lexus of Memphis offering the Golden Opportunity Sales Event. Great offers on all 2020 models and special lease options. If you've ever thought I'd look great in a Lexus, well, guess what? Lexus of Memphis thinks you would look great in one of those beautiful cars as well. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of an all-new 2020 flagship LS500, and you'll be looking and driving in style. Lexus of Memphis, the highest standards in the industry. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and that makes for the luxury driving experience. 901-362-8833. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, as is our tradition here on the 35th day of No Sports, we give you coronavirus news and try to keep you informed with numbers as well. There is a new Vanderbilt model out, and this one, again, is a positive model. It shows that cases are actually shrinking in the Nashville metropolitan area, which means how the mayor was talking about how we'd be on the downside of the curve. That appears to be the case in Nashville. It is not throughout the state. We are making progress here, but in the words of the model, we are still fragile here. We're also learning some numbers about demographic breakdowns. Among the Shelby County fatalities, there are now 32, up 1 from yesterday. 75% of those that have passed are African American. 80% of those had cardiac conditions previously. 33% had diabetes. Some of the individuals had both of those conditions. We know 62% of those that passed are males, and the average median age is 57 years of age. Shelby County now has 1,508 cases. I mentioned to you 32 have passed, up 76 cases from yesterday, and 1 death. We're up to 15,667 tests. 9.6% have tested positive. We have the capability of testing up to 5,000 people per day now. We're only at 1,000. Some of that has been miscommunication, and I think that they are working on that. Across the world, 2 million, almost 150,000 people now have had COVID-19. We've had 143,000 deaths worldwide. In the United States, we're closing in on 667,000, and almost 34,000 have passed away. We've had a 6% recovery rate in the United States. In the state of Tennessee, a little over 6,000 cases now with 135 fatalities. In Mississippi, 3,600 with 129 who have passed away. Arkansas, right about 1,634 have passed away. Those are the numbers for the day on COVID-19.
You know, Dave, if you want to get a really good laugh, the Chinese government is sending out bogus numbers. You know, right. I'm giving you the CDC rolling 10-year average for seasonal flu deaths.
Yeah.
For the country of China, their 10-year average for seasonal flu deaths, it runs about 92,000. They're reporting 3,300 deaths from COVID-19, and that's where it started.
That's hard to believe.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
It's not believable. My top story, June 30th through August 2nd. That'll be the play dates, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Hope to see you at TPC Southwind. Hope it's hot. It'll kill the virus. No handshaking. Fine by me. Keep it a distance, okay? Watch golf, ideal. Hopefully Tiger Woods will be there. But right now, I would take the Zokol brothers, Morris Satosky, and Ken Green.
Okay. That's an interesting group.
Not top story of the day.
Well, it for me is just the whole fact that the tour is coming back, starting with the Schwab on June 11th. You mentioned the FESJC, July 29th through August the 2nd. By the way, that was going to be the Olympic golf slot, so we've got that particular slot. That's kind of cool. PGA is August 6th through the 9th. The playoffs will start September the 17th through the 20th. Right when they're done, the Ryder Cup, September the 25th through the 27th. And then the Masters on November the 12th and 15th. So those are the dates where now we have three majors, the Ryder Cup, the FESJC. There's a World Golf Championship that'll be taking a bunch of good players on in October, and that'll be up against football, but there is no choice. But there it is. The PGA has made their move, and we've got the corroboration of the Golf Digest story, and we've got the dates that we thought were coming.
My not top story, if the four fanless tour events go off and go well, the John Deere, the Memorial, and then there will be the John Deere, the Memorial, and Minnesota, and then Memphis. Tiger may play Fort Worth. Hot, that'd be good for the back. Maybe play in Connecticut. Those conditions would more approximate Harding Park than anything else for the PGA whenever it gets around to that. He'll play Memorial for Jack Nicklaus, and then Memphis 2 weeks later. He'll have 2 weeks off to play from Memorial to Memphis, and then another 2 weeks off after Memphis before the PGA. Hope is about all we have right now.
He's coming.
And I hope he
comes.
He doesn't
so.
have to.
No, he doesn't have to do anything he doesn't want to. But he sure seemed.
He's an independent contractor.
At the Masters replay when he was talking with Jim Nance, he sure seemed ready. When he said he was healthy, could have gone for this Masters. He's got to be chomping at the bit. He sure seemed ready. You know what? Wouldn't it be something if he got 83, number 83, to be the winningest all-time PGA Tour player in history? If he got that at TPC Southwind, that would really be a story, wouldn't it?
It would be great if he did it at the WGC, FESJI. It was fantastic last year. It will be again this year, and I applaud golf. It might be a little hopeful. It could be, in the end, a little unrealistic, but at least they're out there carving their niche and trying to restart the sports world, restart our economy, restart business, and we will talk with Dr. Rudd at about 3:30 about restarting school and hopefully having a fall semester that will include football and the start of the basketball season, Dave.
You know, you just sounded a little like Harry. It might be. It could be. All we need is a holy cow. All we need is a holy cow. Speaking of cow, steaks, ground beef, marinated chicken breasts, you can get those from the butcher shop just the same way you always do. You can order, call online, curbside service, Grubhub can deliver it to you. But if you want to cook, they've got it that way for you too. Either way, cooked or raw, the butcher shop is ready to serve you. And tomorrow's Hamburger Friday, you know, from 11 to 2, the best hamburger. They chop up that steak in the morning. It's fresh as could be. They'll throw it on the grill. They'll still do that for you tomorrow afternoon from 11 to 2. But if you want to make Hamburger Friday every day for yourself, if you've got a group at work, say you're still working, I know you're safe distancing, but you would like to treat your folks, all it takes is at least a minimum of $2.50, and they'll bring Hamburger Friday to you any day of the week. So there's a lot of stuff going on at Walnut Grove. And at the Agri Center in Germantown Road. We've got a butcher shop that is really like a butcher shop. You can go get raw meat. You can get the cooked meals that they always have, the whole menu, or you can do Hamburger Friday every day of the week, or you can go tomorrow yourself with curbside. They've got it going at the butcher shop. We take the break, and when we come back, the president of the University of Memphis will chat with us about a number of things. That's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Weekdays from 7 to 10. Only on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry, and they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Bartlett Small Engine has free pickup and delivery both at your home and curbside for lawnmowers, blowers, edgers, and any small engine. Call 901-386-9779.
Hey everybody, this is Coach Penny Hardaway. There's a comfort in being home, and to me, comfort food and family makes Memphis the place to be, along with having the best basketball fans in America. I like pulling into Corky's and getting one of their family party packs. How can you go wrong with pork, beans, slaw, sauce, and buns for only $5.99 a person? It is so easy. I can call ahead, order online, or just pop in. Tailgating can't get any easier. Tell them Penny sent you.
Encore flavor, Corky's barbecue.
Listen Sundays at 11 a.m. to join Idlewild Presbyterian Church for worship. Idlewild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
Hi, I'm Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. Can anyone explain to me why anyone would care how I measure your roof? We have all heard about measuring your roof from outer space. Well, to be honest, there are aerial pictures that are taken every 4 years that can be used to measure a building, but it's not from outer space. Besides, no one, and I mean no one, can tell you what's wrong with your roof or even if you need one by using pictures that might be 4 years old. If you would rather do business with a family-owned and operated business with a lifelong tie to Memphis that refuses to mislead or use gimmicks, please give me a call. Best products, best warranties, and the best customer service we know how to provide. Fiveash Roofing, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Memphis Tigers home team. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
At Jason's Deli, you can stuff yourself full of great deli food that's healthy, fresh, and best of all, it's not expensive. Jason's Deli is all about choice. Whether you're looking for a gluten-free menu, vegetarian sandwiches, healthy kids' meals, or if you'd like to invent your sandwich via the build-your-own selections, Jason's Deli has you covered. And they only use fresh, wholesome ingredients. Choose from the club and specialty sandwiches, paninis, wraps, soups, salads, pastas, and much more. I love the cleanliness in the restaurant, the hospitality, and of course the cost. They have a huge salad bar and great soups, including Southwest chicken chili, fire-roasted tortilla, organic vegetable, tomato basil, and many, many more. And if you're planning an event, their catering department is fantastic and can handle any size party. Go check out Jason's Deli's 4 locations. On Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, that's my favorite, on Germantown Parkway in Cordova, at Poplar and Highland, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
We're expecting to have Dr. David Rudd with us momentarily at 4 o'clock. We'll have one of his proud graduates of the esteemed University of Memphis, Elliot Perry, as we go inside Hoop City. Another grad at 4:30 in Tim Doolin, and a guy that covers their men's basketball team, Jason Munns, with us at 5 o'clock. But we are very proud right now to have Dr. Rudd about to join us, Dave, when we look forward to asking him a lot of questions. You know, I've said a couple of times, positivity costs the very same thing as negativity. And the PGA Tour, I think, being aspirational and positive. And Dr. Rudd was very much that yesterday in a sit-down interview that he did with the Daily Memphian. And I applaud him for it, Dave.
I do too, and let's bring in the president of the University of Memphis, Dr. M. David Rudd. Thank you for giving us much of your time. Let's start with that optimistic outlook. You certainly seemed that way when you said you had a good sense that we would have people on campus and maybe even play college football this fall. Dr. Rudd, you still feel that way after all the new models have come out in the last couple of days? Good afternoon.
Hey, Dave. Hopefully you're doing well and your family and
yes.
all are safe.
We are. Thank you very much for asking. I hope you and your wife and family are as well.
We are. Thanks. Yeah, I think so, Dave. I mean, I think, certainly health and safety is at the forefront for all of this. But I think you're seeing some of that now in terms of national conversations about how do we, in a safe and healthy way, move forward. The president is going to actually offer some guidelines today about that process. I think you're going to hear more and more of that over the next 30 to 90 days. It certainly will be dramatically different than it's ever been. I mean, there's no question about that. Things will be different. But I do think that we'll see some movement back to the new normal.
Dr. Rudd, I know you are ahead of the game when it comes to the online. I think I read it was 17% of the classes that you offered now were online. But if we had to use that model for a long period of time, how much financial stress is there on schools? Would you have to close buildings on campus if they're not being used? What would be the long-term solution to something like that?
Well, the short-term impact has been significant. We're still evaluating the short-term. We are, as I mentioned in a discussion a couple of days ago, we are in good shape through the summer. If we look into the next fiscal year, we'll have to calculate and project, just like all universities will. It would be substantial if that were the case. I don't have a range of numbers I could give you at this point, but it would depend on how many students that impacts and what that looks like for us in any university nationally. But it would be substantial if we had to continue in an online capacity. We've made that transition pretty easily in some ways. We certainly got a lot of faculty and staff working incredibly hard to make that happen, but we have a lot of experience, a lot of expertise, really good foundation in that area, and made that transition smoothly. We can certainly continue that, but what I hope that we will see, and my guess is that we will see some transition to some hybrid over the course of the coming year, whether that means the fall semester is pushed back or there are significant modifications in how it's delivered.
Dr. Rudd, do you currently in your budgeting, do you have a rainy day disaster fund?
We do. Over the course of the last 5 years, we've done well, and over that period of time, we have created strategic reserves as a part of that. I don't know if you remember, but about 7 years ago, the university had a fairly significant financial challenge and had a significant deficit. Over the course of time, we've closed that gap and done well, and that's allowed us to create a rainy day fund that will certainly help, but it won't weather the storm indefinitely. It's helping us this summer. It's helping us over the course of the spring semester, so we have not had layoffs or furloughs in the spring semester, and we won't over the course of the summer. But as we look into the new fiscal year, we'll have to look at all alternatives.
If all these models are right, and we are starting to maybe get approaching, not just flattening the curve, but come to the descent part of it, what do you think a class, if you are allowed to go back in the fall, what do you think the classroom will look like compared to what we know a class is normally?
Dave, I think it'll be dramatically different through the course of the fall until there is a vaccine for this and health and safety can be assured. And what I say by that is, you'll have dramatically smaller classes and hybrid classes. And so don't be surprised if you look at models where you see a class of, let's say, 45 students where it is delivered both face-to-face and electronically simultaneously so that any one student only comes to the face-to-face class, let's say once every 2 weeks. So you get your opportunity to rotate into the face-to-face class. The rest of it is delivered electronically, virtually for you, so that it would be some hybrid model that allows people to maintain safety and health guidelines while we do this. So I think you'll see some new evolution in terms of what happens that allows a campus to function with new guidelines.
Do you have a hard date? Do you have a hard date with on when to start or announce the fall semester?
We do not. We're working on 30-day cycles right now, so we're reevaluating about every 30 days as new data comes in. All of the decisions that we're making are empirically based, scientifically driven, using the best data locally and across the state and across the country. We do not have a hard date. I know that some people have projected dates in June that they've looked at. I would argue probably not until the middle of the summer would we really be forced to make a decision about what direction to go, whether looking at continued online was really an issue or whether or not we needed to start that transition. We'll be prepared on either end of that.
But we know for sure that this class this semester is finished online, and also summer school will be online this year, correct?
That is correct. That's absolutely correct.
And the hybrid model that you talked about, Dr. Rudd, because I worry about the future of colleges and education, and I know the financial stress, not the University of Memphis per se, but a lot of schools that they will be facing. Look, we saw Cincinnati have to drop soccer just the other day. Can that hybrid model work economically for the survival of schools as we know it?
It's a great question. I would tell you that there are a lot of things that I'm not sure that people recognize or understand about the function of universities and about auxiliary services and other activities on the university campus that create and generate revenue. So as a part of that, you look at the investment in the infrastructure that has been made in housing and dining on campus. That is considerable. Those kinds of models don't provide essentially a financial model that supports that over the long term. I think the majority of us, and I think probably nationally, if you look at the leading scientific evidence, would suggest that in the spring you'll see the emergence of treatments and potentially a vaccine within 12 to 18 months. But this is a time-limited problem. And so most of us are approaching it from that perspective, that this really is a time-limited challenge. It's highlighted some of the things people miss about face-to-face, about being in a classroom, about relationships, and about those informal aspects and the residential aspects of education that are so valuable.
I know you are scouring through every possibility, but first and foremost, the safety and the health of your student body, and then potentially for your fans out at football, along Tiger Lane and in the stands at Liberty Bowl Stadium. Is one of the bigger questions the liability issue?
I don't know that we've ever driven decisions based on liability is the core concern. I think certainly those priorities of health and safety are at the heart of that. And particularly when you look at a global pandemic, the issue of risk is certainly a concern. We want to make sure we take care of all of our employees, all of our faculty, staff, and students, and our fans as a part of the process. I do think that there is active engagement and some pretty significant discussion nationally about what it would look like to go back and to try to have some semblance of a football season. And there are some creative things being discussed. And at the heart of that is whether or not you can have large gatherings. I do think that there will be a significant challenge to trying to have large gatherings without a vaccine present.
That is intriguing to me. I know that the Power 5 commissioners had a conference call yesterday with the Vice President of the United States. They made it clear, and I think you've already said this too, that if kids are not back in school, there's not going to be any kind of sports season that we'd have. But if they are back, and we're hoping maybe it's that hybrid model that brings them back, would there be folks allowed in the stands? That's one. Two, I'm sure you've gone over all these, a bunch of these scenarios. Would there be a full season? Would you delay it? Would you play basketball and football at the same time? Could that be a model? Would you play only conference games? All these things going, I guess, around everybody's head. Where do you think this thing ends up?
Well, I think it probably, like most things, it probably ends up somewhere in the middle. I do think the reality is that there's a high probability that things will be pushed back. I do think that, time is one of those critical variables that allows containment of the virus and limits spread. One of the things that is going to be critical is the availability to access testing. And one of the challenges that universities don't have that capacity. We don't currently have the capacity to test and do it on a frequent basis. And so if you're going to have certainly, if you're going to have athletes competing, they're going to have to be tested. It's going to have to be contained. It's going to have to be safe, and their health is going to have to be assured as a part of that. One of the things that does help, though, is the opportunity to be able to push some of these things back. I think there's enough creativity, commitment, innovation, and certainly there are ways, and I think even Dr. Fauci talked about this nationally, there are ways to do this that can assure the health of all of those involved. I think it is critical, and I agree with what you said earlier. It's hard to make an argument that universities that you can have athletic events and not have students on campus. We need to have students on campus. Universities are universities. They are. That is where we educate young people, and certainly, we need to have our campus open in some capacity to be able to look at the viability of related athletic programs.
Dr. Rudd, without 1 year of football, how deep, how profound could the cuts be in every other department in the athletics department, in every other sport in the athletics department?
That's a great question. I would tell you that we're no different than any other department around the country. Arguably, about 80% of that revenue is generated out of football for athletic departments. It's at the heart of any major athletic department in the country. So certainly, if that happened, it would be a significant issue for those departments. But at the same time, it's going to be a significant issue for conferences. Majority of that funding is driven through the conferences. So the media rights deals are contained in the conferences. That revenue is driven by football. So it would be a ripple effect, not just from conferences to universities, but also the NCAA as well.
What was your reaction when you first heard that Cincinnati was, in your own league, was dropping soccer? That sort of hit hard for me for some reason.
It caught me by surprise, and I was a little bit surprised by that. Cincinnati is a large department. Actually, their funding level, I believe, is a little more significant than ours. It's a university with a very significant endowment. I don't have the endowment committed to memory, but it's considerably larger than the University of Memphis endowment. It speaks to the challenge of not just the challenge, but the cost of athletics for universities today.
Dr. Rudd, if we had to, would there be any examination at the Title IX legislation and laws?
That's a great question. I don't believe so. I'd be surprised by that, and given the significance and importance of Title IX, I'd be a little bit surprised by that. I certainly haven't heard any discussion around that.
Dr. Rudd, you sit on many of these athletic committees for the NCAA, and they did grant that extra year of eligibility for the spring sports. I don't know what Memphis's philosophy will be on that. I'll ask you that as part of this question, but also the transfer portal gets larger and larger. Will there be legislation passed this year that would allow a student athlete to transfer, provided we have seasons, but for that player to transfer and be immediately eligible?
I don't know that. I don't know that anything is going to happen in the near term, and a part of it is I think that these other challenges are so significant. We certainly have got, I think, for all of us, we've got a full plate and a significant number of things to juggle and address that are going to take are probably going to take precedence.
Dr. Rudd, thank you so much for all of your time. I hope you stay healthy, and your wife and your family and everybody else. I know you're working 20-hour days, but we really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Hey, my pleasure. And again, you be safe and take care, and look forward to the chance to see you again at a game along with thousands of others. And hopefully that'll be in our future in the near term rather than the long term.
Amen to that. Thank you, Dr. Rudd. That is the president of the University of Memphis. That is M. David Rudd, and a lot of interesting things that he definitely shared with us today. This portion of the show is brought to you by Dinstall's. They still are doing it. Even with this pandemic, you need to have something sweet in your life in all of their locations, and we've got a bunch of them now. Every location still open doing curbside. That could be where they make the candy on Pleasant View. That could be downtown in the new store. And I hope we get through with this quickly, because I know Becky and her family and all the folks at Dinstall's are thinking about putting together a chocolate museum in the basement of their downtown store. And I understand that store has done very, very well. People down there are really, really happy to get something sweet like Dinstall's when you're at work. Then, of course, Collierville and Germantown, and where I live, Perkins and Poplar. You can't beat the signature candy for all of Memphis, and they are still open, and they are serving curbside. You want a sweet thing for this pandemic? All you got to do is head to Dinstall's. We take a time out. When we come back, we'll get the lowdown from the man himself, Daryl Smith, from the WGC FedEx St. Jude. He's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Search Sports 56 on Facebook and give us a like. And follow us on Twitter at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Pros. Lowe's stores are here to help keep your business moving forward so you can get the things you need, like plumbing and electrical supplies. Plus, we have the replacement appliances for any properties you manage, because we know you're still making repairs to keep people's homes running smoothly at this important time. From our convenient curbside loading to job site delivery, you can count on us every day. We're pro ready and here for you.
This is CJ Hurt from Sports 56 Mornings. During this coronavirus pandemic, many of you are spending all day at home, and we remind you that you can stay in touch and connected through Sports 56. Turn us on your radio, computer, phone, or smart speaker and stay up to date and connected. Meanwhile, keep practicing social distancing and remember to wash your hands often, and hopefully before long, we can get back to some sort of normalcy. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay connected with Sports 56 and Sports56WHBQ.com.
This is a commercial announcement. Did China really cover up the coronavirus outbreak? Are they telling us the full truth of where the virus came from and how many of their people were really infected? Are they also holding back critical medical supplies? Now, Greg Kelly Reports gives the shocking answers to those questions on Newsmax TV. So tune into Greg Kelly Reports tonight on Newsmax TV. It's already the fastest growing cable news channel in America, carried on every major cable system, including DirecTV, Xfinity, Dish, Spectrum, Optimum, Cox, Fios, Uverse, Suddenlink, WOW, and more. Just check your cable guide today. And don't forget to vote in Newsmax's national poll, asking Americans if they support President Trump's handling of the crisis. It's easy to vote. Just text the word OPEN to 39747. That's OPEN to 39747. Let your voice be heard about President Trump. Just text the word OPEN to 39747 and watch Newsmax TV. It's real news for real people.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Plenty of props to Golf Digest. We weren't skeptical of them yesterday, but we did ask. We wanted a little more confirmation from some of the other people around the golf world. They got it right. They got the story first, Dave, and the story is the new schedule out for the PGA Tour that, of course, involves the WGC FESJI. I'll take our dates, Daryl Smith. We've been out there in August before. Yeah, guess what? Breaking news, it was hot. It'll be hot this year, but, man, if we have a tournament this year, I'll bend over and kiss the hot ground. Hey, Daryl.
Hey. We are good, and we're so pleased that you did get this date. It moves to where the Olympic Games would have been July 29th through August 2nd. And I guess my first question for you is, I think it's on the schedule as being the first tournament maybe that would that would have a gallery. Is that what you're planning on, Daryl?
Well, the announcement today about the revised schedule and the proposed resumption of play on the PGA Tour, moving back to the first few weeks in June, and then of course going through the calendar year. The first four are scheduled to not have spectators, and then the one that is on deck from that would be the John Deere Classic. So the John Deere Classic is the one that's currently then outside that window, the first one of the first four that had already been confirmed that won't have spectators. So we're going to continue to work a plan that we have developed, and we're hopeful that we'll have an event that is similar in nature to what you saw last year. But just with every tournament that's being played on the PGA Tour, we're going to rely a lot on the guidance of the local and state and federal officials and health organizations to really determine what we can do to produce this event in a very safe and an effective manner.
I'm intrigued by it. I was wondering if we go back like the old days where you just had stands, and you may not even have those on 18. Those skyboxes may be a thing of the past till we have a vaccine, and we could be behind ropes, and you might have little spaces for 6 feet. I mean, that may be the way you have to do it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, we're evaluating all the different options. I mean, there's a variety of different options, and one does include an option that has no fans, and there still is some infrastructure that you have to have made available to conduct the competition. And time will tell, and the guidance and just how things change over the coming months will kind of determine what type of event that we're able to produce.
Yeah, Daryl, we're all just so desperate for any good news, and we sure want good news out of our event that was so wildly successful last year. And I know you have a lot of sadness for a lot of your friends that you've worked with on the tour at a couple of stops. I'm sorry for the good folks at the Greenbrier, and it feels like it could be the real start of the beginning of the end, maybe for New Orleans. But I'm glad the WGC FESJI is scheduled for when it's scheduled for, and your event, it will have a limited number of players, just like it did last year. It'll be 60 to 70 players, so it won't be as full, and that might be a good thing going into this year.
Yeah, our eligibility around the World Golf Championship will be the same that we had last year, and of course, there's several different criteria to gain eligibility, and top 50 players in the official world rankings, or the past playing members of the President's Cup, which on the international team and the USA team, and then a select number of events that around the world where their champion is qualified, as well as any winners that have won an event with a strength of field over 115 or higher. So there are several different criteria, but with this condensed schedule, there are some tournaments that have not been able to be played, and so that pool of eligible candidates has shrunk. And then when you look fast forward to when our proposed restart and playing golf in Fort Worth and leading into our event, there's not that many more events. So there is a possibility that the field could be smaller. I believe right now, just doing some quick research, that we have 63 eligible players that would be eligible to play in our event if it was to happen today. And we know that there's still some more events to be played before we get to the last week in July. So, depends on who wins those events and if there will be new names added to the eligibility in the field list at the end of the day.
That is incredible. I'm sure your first reaction when you did see all these changes that there was relief that you were on the schedule to period, because so many things were being shifted around. And let me be the first one to ask you, okay? Don't get mad at me, but the way this thing sets up, Lord, we should get Tiger Woods, shouldn't we?
Well, I mean, the PGA Tour schedule is how it's been reimagined. It's very similar to last year, to be honest, and the date that we were in. Of course, we were after an Open Championship, and there were thoughts going in the Open Championship. Does that impact our field? And we were able to get 45 of the top 50 players in the world. But if you look at the schedule, there was still a lot of golf that had to be played in that time period that we are, and that remains the same this year with the reimagined schedule. Probably 5 out of the last 6 weeks through the FedEx Cup playoff events are going to be very, very important weeks. And we're also the week before the PGA Championship, which is scheduled to be played on the West Coast at Harding Park. And the tournament that we currently are, when it was played in Akron, Ohio, it was in this, in a similar position, and it continued to have the strongest fields in golf.
Great point.
And of course, we're very we're very aware of what Tiger's success was at Firestone in Akron, and how often he played that event, and we're hopeful that this year's tournament and the date that we have, bodes well for him and his schedule.
Well, I'm thrilled. We should have a tournament. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I don't think anybody can really know. We'll just have to see how the pandemic progresses as we go along. But I know, Daryl, you're thrilled that we are officially still on that darn schedule.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely encouraged by today's news, and when an event of this size takes it takes months and months and an entire year to plan, and to have the ability to be 4 weeks later on the PGA Tour schedule, it gives us a lot of time to prepare and plan to produce the safest and most successful event that we possibly can. And that's going to be our guiding light, and the number one priority for us as we move forward is that we want to we'll be collaborative and transparent with all the different health organizations and the local officials to put on the safest event possible. And today's news with our date gives us more time to adjust and to do that, and it's very encouraging.
Thank you, Daryl. We appreciate it. You giving us some time today, and we love it. Great news. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Daryl. And we do love it. And it did buy them some time, Dave. And right now, just like the football schedule, everybody wants a little more time to kind of work things out and adjust their schedules. And the WGC FESJI, they got it with this very, very, very good news today. 1 hour in the books right now. It featured audio on our website at sports56whbq.com is the interview with Dr. David Rudd. You can go hear that right now in its entirety, and we will replay that at 5:30 for you. If you want to wait until then to hear it, you certainly can. We start hour number 2 going inside Hoop City with Tiger and Grizzly and NBA legend Elliot Perry. That's up next. You're listening to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats on AM 560, 87.7, and 96.1 FM.
DeSoto Auto Sales specializes in late model cars with low mileage. They have the highest standards in the car industry. All of their cars are test driven, checked out from head to toe, unlimited inventory, every make and model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll find it for you. Walk in the door of DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Within 45 minutes, you can test your car, get credit approval, and finish paperwork within an hour. No shortcuts at DeSoto Auto Sales. Kind, courteous employees, a down-home environment. DeSoto Auto Sales cares about your time. Lowest prices in a 350-mile radius. We're living in a world today where time does matter. Visit them online. Check out their referrals. DeSotoAutosales.com. Very proud to serve DeSoto County and other surrounding areas. DeSoto Auto Sales, 5704 Goodman Road. Call 662-890-7184. 662-890-7184. Come on down to DeSoto Auto Sales.
pros. Lowe's stores are here to help keep your business moving forward so you can get the things you need, like plumbing and electrical supplies. Plus, we have the replacement appliances for any properties you manage, because we know you're still making repairs to keep people's homes running smoothly at this important time. From our convenient curbside loading to job site delivery, you can count on us every day. We're pro ready and here for you.
I'm Dr. George Flynn, president of Flynn Broadcasting. On behalf of everyone associated with Flynn Broadcasting, we want to wish you good health, especially in this coronavirus situation. You can be the hero. All you have to do is practice social distancing. That's right, 6 feet away from other people, and you'll be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Also, if you feel ill and have a cough or fever, get tested so you'll know if you have coronavirus or not. I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting. We'll keep you connected while you maintain your physical social distance. So keep listening to this Flynn Broadcasting station, because we're in this fight with you, and we're going to help you stay connected.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time to go inside Hoop City with Grizzlies radio analyst Elliot Perry. Inside Hoop City is sponsored by Campbell Clinic. Each Thursday, the former Tiger great and 10-year NBA player joins Sportstime with Wolo and Stats to talk Tigers and Grizzlies and all things Hoop City. Now, here's Elliot Perry with Wolo and Stats.
Very pleased and always very, very honored to have our friend Elliot Perry on with us to talk Grizzlies and Tigers. A lot of news really on both fronts for no play on either front with the Tiger season long completed. It was 5 weeks ago today that the conference, or the American Athletic Conference, announced that their tournament was over, with a lot of other teams and schools and conferences out there doing the very same thing. The Big East went out there. They tried to play on for a half that day, and then it was pulled. Last night would have been the Grizzlies' last road game of the year in Houston. And, Elliot, normally this would be the time that late last night we would have gotten tip times and schedules for the first round of games. And we know if it had been the Grizzlies in the playoffs, it probably would have been against the Lakers. It would have started out there late Saturday, late Sunday, with the following weekend being the home games against the Lakers. I'm not ruling out the NBA trying to complete the season, or at least have the playoffs or crown a champion, but every day makes it look a little bit later. But the golf world had good news today. Maybe the NBA and baseball will be next. Good afternoon, Elliot.
How you guys doing?
We're
doing well.
How
You
about
hopeful?
You healthy?
Yeah, I'm healthy, man. What about, I hope you guys are healthy and your families are healthy as well.
We are, and Elliot, right now, man, that is all that matters when you see these numbers. And we've talked a couple times about it. And I will readily admit, late February, when I first started hearing about this, I thought, I can't live my life worried about something that started way over there in Wuhan, and it kept getting closer and closer and closer to us. And I say that to make the point, I don't know what the number had to be for people to go, this is really serious, this is really frightening. But 30,000 people in the United States dying from it. I don't know what your number had to be, but 30,000 has to start getting your attention.
Oh, no question about it. Plus, I mean, if you think about it, yesterday I think was the highest death total in one day. Over 2,000 people in one day. And so I think, I think it has long hit a critical mass in terms of the amount of people that's passing away to take this thing seriously. I'm glad that, sports teams and colleges and NCAA, everybody just kind of shut everything down to take it seriously. But, I mean, I this would be one of those times when we would just be finishing up and we would be hoping that the Grizzlies would be playing the Lakers in the first round, because I thought that the last probably 17 games or so would have been, for us, for New Orleans, for San Antonio, and for Portland, all critical games. So we would have been scoreboard watching and, seeing if Portland won. And plus, we played each other for quite a few times.
Sure.
And so that would have been an exciting end of the year. And like I said before, in terms of the Grizzlies, their young team, it would have given them so much experience either way, because those last 17 games, if they didn't make it, they would know what it feels like to have to try to get into the playoffs and the level you have to play at. And if they did get into the playoffs, they would know what level you have to play at. And now getting that first round experience would have been great.
And Elliot, it's one of the truths of life. There's just no experience like experience.
Right, exactly.
It would have been an interesting down the stretch for sure. I would have loved scoreboard watching, as you say. Every game would have had meaning. There would have been packed houses. It would have been a lot of fun to watch. And maybe they'll figure something out at the end, whether it's playoffs or they play 5 regular season games to get everybody to 70. We'll have to wait and see about all of that. In the meantime, there was some interesting news over the last few days that I would love your take on it. This was not around for you. I'm sure you would have loved it. But the NBA has decided that they are going to try and get the top 15 prospects or so, 12 to 15 prospects, pay them $500,000 each, make them somewhat a part of the G League, but more developmental than the G League, playing exhibition games, $500,000, and they can sign with an agent and get the shoe deal like Jalen Green probably will, maybe make $1 million. What is your sense of all of that?
I think it's very interesting. I told you before, I think Adam Silver is open to, is flexible to a lot of different ideas, and then he's been able to implement this idea. I think it's going to, in my opinion, I think it's going to help a lot of young guys because a lot of young guys obviously want to go into the NBA straight out of high school. I think this is going to give them sort of that prep school year, if you will. Still be able to make money, give them that prep school year. You still have your rights, so you still be able to go into the draft that next year, but you'll play against professional competition, make money, and get a good feel for how the NBA game is played, but also how to take care of your body playing against professionals, and then still be able, again, to be able to be drafted that next year because nobody will have your rights.
Would you have done that had you had the chance after your senior year in high school?
I probably wouldn't have, honestly. I don't think, I look back on my high school career, I don't know if I was good enough to do that, one. And then secondly, I just think I needed that time in college to really kind of prepare my body and to prepare a lot of weaknesses that I had. And so I don't think I was good enough to come straight out and play professional basketball. But I think there are a lot of guys that are going to take advantage. At least it gives you a different option. A lot of guys are going to be able to take advantage of that because the thing I talk about a lot is when you were able to come out of high school and go straight. I mean, we hear straight to the NBA. We hear about a lot of the successes: Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, Jermaine O'Neal. All those guys who have been at LeBron, all those guys who have been able to do it at a high level. But we don't hear as much about the stories that were not successful. The young guys who threw it all to the wind. They came out of high school because somebody told them they were good enough to come out of high school to make it to the league. And then if they didn't make it to the league, what happened to those guys? Some of those guys were able to go on and play professionally overseas or whatever. But I can guarantee you we have a lot of stories of guys that if they had to do it all over again, they probably would have gone to college or wished they had something like this.
And Elliot, for those guys that end up being the more nightmarish stories, and some a lot worse than others, the best part of the college experience would have been just exactly what you had. And you had a great college experience and made it work for professional basketball at the highest level. But the friendships, the associations, if you do complete your degree work and at a great place like the University of Memphis, the learning how to travel and see things, like last year when the Tigers went to the Bahamas, the various road trips they go on to spend Thanksgiving in New York City, to miss out on that if they totally swing and miss. And all three of us can remember when it was revolutionary. It was hard to believe what Moses Malone what he did and did well going to the ABA out of high school, and then Daryl Dawkins and Bill Willoughby into the NBA, and it did not work for Bill Willoughby. I think he ended up playing about 6 or 7 years, though, but and then the landslide, the onslaught of so many people doing it, you rattle through the successful ones, but I guarantee you for every successful one, there's been about 3 hard luck stories.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to do I wish they could do a 30 for 30 or a documentary on the guys who didn't make it and just get their perspective after all these things have happened and as they've grown and matured and look back on whether they were successful overseas or not, but they know that their dream was not didn't come to fruition in the NBA. And so I do say that you're right. I think my college, I'll speak for myself, my college experience was the best experience of my life. I think you not only learn in college and grow as a player, but you also grow as a person, a young man. You're starting to learn how to do your own lunch. I mean, there are a lot of things you're starting to learn how to do. You're living on your own for the first time. And so you start to mature and become into who you're going to become, grow into who you're going to become. And so I think there's some value there. I think the majority of young guys will probably opt to go to college, so I don't think the NCAA has anything to worry about.
Let me tell you why I think they're really smart here on a couple of fronts. The argument I've always made about anybody going to the G League would be, well, first of all, you're going to be a 19-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid, and you're going up against 25-year-old guys that want to kill you because you're trying to get their minutes. You're getting up early in the morning to either catch a flight or drive on a bus. You got to worry about your own food because it's not going to be brought to you or prepared for you like it is in college. You're going to play in front of an empty stadium. Forget television. Nobody is there unless it's school day. And then you got a bunch of screaming fourth graders that yell the whole game. So it's really not the greatest of atmospheres in my mind for a young kid to try and develop. I'm not saying there's not a place for it for an older, more seasoned guy trying to get back to the league or get a real shot. That there is a place. But I didn't think it was for really young guys. And the way they're doing it is, one, first of all, they're making him rich right off the bat, so the money issue is very enticing. And they're not going to have them go up against those guys that would take their head off for their position because they're trying to develop them. As you said, they're going to teach them. They're going to teach them how their body should be used. I'm sure they're going to provide them with those meals that you would get in college. I'm sure their mode of transportation is going to be a little bit more upscale than the normal G League team will. And then the other is they're going to learn more about these guys for their own economic model. They're paying them $500,000, but then they'll know if they're good enough to give them a 2-year guaranteed contract for millions when the draft comes. I mean, this thing is really smart on so many fronts.
Yeah, again, like I said before, it gives you an opportunity to have that sort of prep school year, that gap year where you can learn players' work ethic. Because talent isn't everything once you make it to the next level. How guys are going to respond, what are their work ethics, are they there on time, teaching guys how to become a professional, are they there on time, do they stay late, or are guys just running in there right before we get ready to go to practice and leaving right after practice when the going gets tough, who's going to step up, understanding the system, different systems, how to run pick and roll. I can remember playing in some of the post All-Star games in Portsmouth and in Orlando. And, we spent a whole day in the first practice just running pick and rolls. That's all scouts wanted to see, how guys would run and pick and rolls and defend pick and rolls as well. And so, we didn't run as much pick and roll in college as they do today. And so that was new for me, learning how to read pick and rolls, learning when guys jump over here, when guys setting down screens, how to read those guys. And so, guys are going to get a great sense of, again, how to develop as a player and a person.
And Elliot, you mentioned the talent aspect of it, and I'm not trying to crush anybody, but I'm going to call his name out because he was as wildly talented as about anybody we've ever seen come through. And if talent was it, O.J. Mayo would still be playing.
Yeah. Yeah, no question about it. I mean, I think O.J. Mayo is extremely talented. Obviously, he dealt with, a lot of things off the court, a lot of personal issues, a lot of things in his own head. I mean, the last article I read about him was, a fantastic article. I think he's starting to mature as a player. But, you take a guy like O.J. Mayo, this would have been a great opportunity for him to have that sort of gap here. But I'll even go back. I mean, you guys probably remember, if this would have been a great situation for somebody like maybe like a Ron Heary or a Richard Madison, guys who were sort of ahead of their time, who had the talent, but they didn't have the work ethic. They didn't have the kind of off-court stuff that they really needed to have from a mental standpoint to develop. And so, it may have been beneficial for guys like that. So I do think it's smart, Dave. I think you're right.
I'm wondering what is the collateral damage to the college system? Because honestly, once one and done was going to be finished, and they may not do away with one and done. This may be the model they go to, but once one and done was going to be done, you were going to lose those top 10 guys, 15 guys, no matter what. So now, as an institution, if you're college, okay, so if we lose the top 15 guys or the top 13 guys, we get the rest on down, and that's what we'll market. Now you know what it will be, and to lose 13, 15 guys on a yearly basis, I know they're not the stars that you could have marketed, but there's enough out there you still can. I don't think the damage is that great on college hoops. Give me what you guys think.
Yeah, I don't think the damage would be that great. I mean, I think it's going to force college coaches to think differently about how they look at college. Look, I think they're still going to approach it the same way. If you're a top 15 guy, top 5, top 10 guy, colleges are going to still recruit you, and they're going to offer you. They're going to offer you scholarships. That's the way it should be. It's going to be your decision whether you're going to take this other road or go to college. I still do think that some guys are still going to go to college. I mean, I don't think every top 15 guy is going to go into the draft just for certain reasons. I mean, some guys just be recruited by Memphis, or they may be recruited by Cal, or they may be recruited by Coach K. They like what they see on a college campus. You want that kind of experience. You feel like, hey, I want to be patient enough that, hey, I want to experience college. I think some guys are going to take that road, but I think what college is going to be really good because you're going to see a lot of guys stay multiple years in college, and we can see that right here in our own backyard. Penny can convince these guys who probably were, if this was available, probably a lot of those guys would have taken that coming out of high school. If he can convince these guys to stay an additional year and possibly another year, but at least that one additional year for Keonis and some of the other guys, it's going to make a tremendous difference in his team going forward. It's going to give them a lot of experience in terms of growth, development, working on their bodies more. Now I understand college more. So when I come in day one, I can hit the ground running as opposed to catching up and learning.
And great point. I think it could be better for the college game, and I want the college game. I do too, Elliot. I really do, especially handled smartly, like I feel like Coach Hardaway would do. And you're right about the guys returning next year. They all need it, and they will be better on the floor next year for it. There have been cases, we got to be fair about it. And to Jalen Green, good for him. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're getting this money. I'm glad you're getting this opportunity. I'm not going to tell anybody how to live their life. He's got parents to do that, and it's not my decision. But there have also been cases, Elliot, through the years of players that frankly stayed too long. Keith Lee probably should have cashed in after that freshman year. He would have gotten that first contract. Those knees would have been in better shape. He may have gotten into a second contract. He for sure could have gone after a second and third year. Patrick Ewing, the very same thing. Lynn Bias, the same thing. Who was it you played with, or maybe even played against, that you thought, you need to be in the NBA? Quit playing college ball, man.
Trying to think of guys I played against. I would say a guy who I played with probably. Again, you still have to remember this was not as prevalent as it is back then. So guys leaving after 1-2 years was not as prevalent as it is now. Since we have the one and done. But I think Sylvester Gray was a guy who probably could have taken after his first year.
Because that body.
And after his first year in college, I think Sylvester could have gone on to the NBA, learned. I think he would have done well and had a longer career in the NBA. So I think Sylvester jumps out at me more than
anybody else. How about
else.
Vincent Askew?
I think Askew as well. Well, and I think Askew for a couple of reasons. Askew stayed to his was he a junior? His junior year. I think Askew. Well, I take that back. I don't think Askew was ready because Askew was surrounded by so much talent. He wasn't a standout player. He was a moderate role player, but a much needed role player. He played his role to the T. I think over the time, Askew just consistently developed. His sophomore year he got better. His junior year when they won it all in Coach Finch's first year, he was fantastic and then left to go to the NBA. But I think Sylvester is the guy that sticks out in my mind more than anybody else.
You brought up a guy before, and I've often wondered this, and so I'll ask you now more direct because you brought him up, is the Master Blaster. And this guy was an unbelievable athlete. Like any sport, I think if he had really dedicated himself, he probably could have played. They said the first time he ever got on the mound to throw a pitch, he threw out he struck out 3 guys on 9 pitches. Now we know sometimes these scenes get a little bit bigger than life, but that's the kind of guy he was.
But he was good.
What was the reason for him not making it at Kentucky?
Well, I think one thing when you go to a college like Kentucky, one, you have to be tremendously dedicated. The second thing is they're going to recruit on top of you. There is no such thing as, hey, we're not going to recruit your position. So you're going to have to fight for your position every year. And so they're going to be bringing in and not only that, they're bringing in 5-star players too, 4 and 5-star players on top of you, just like you're a 4 and 5-star player. I just think that, for whatever reason, when Master Blaster got down there, I don't think the system fit him well there. I visited Kentucky my senior year in high school, and it was Master Blaster's. I mean, my senior year in high school, and it was Master Blaster's going into his senior year in college. And he was a shell of himself. When I watched those guys, and I know for a fact I grew up watching Master Blaster in awe of his talent, his beautiful jump shot, his ability to put the ball on the floor, his size. And so I just think sometimes guys can go to the wrong school. You have a system that may be wrong for you. You have a coach that may be, not quite right for you. We saw it here with Oren Watson. I don't think Coach Finch was the right coach for him. I don't think the Memphis system was right for Oren Watson. He went to Mississippi State and flourished. We saw it I thought somebody like a Greg Lockhart went to the wrong school. He signed with Mississippi State out of high school. It just wasn't a good fit for him. So sometimes guys it's just not a good fit. And change of scenery is good sometimes. Unfortunately for Master Blaster, that didn't happen.
You know what? I agree with that, and I think that's true in the NBA. We've often asked this question: would Steph Curry, had he not gone to the Golden State Warriors, let's say he'd gone to a different system, would he be Steph Curry?
Yeah, that's hard to say. I think systems, make players sometimes. One, it was the right system, the right coach. Steve Kerr came in. I thought Mark Jackson did a fantastic job with those guys. And I thought had they stayed the course with Mark Jackson, they possibly still could have built a dynasty. But Steve Kerr, with his pedigree, playing for Phil Jackson, playing for Pop, winning titles, the mindset that he brought to that team. And I think also, the players around you, too. You have Klay Thompson, a young guy that's right there with you. You mentioned Draymond Green, the ultimate role player. And then after that, the rest of it is just staying together. I think about our Memphis teams and our grit grind teams. The thing that made them so good is time. They just stayed together. The teams, they didn't break them up. They didn't worry about the small things. They settled on 4 or 5 players that we were going to stick with these four players or so, and then we were going to build around the perimeter. And I think that's what Golden State has done.
It is always fun to pick your brain and take a walk down memory lane. Elliot, please stay healthy. Hope the family's good, and we'll do this again next week.
Man, thank you guys, and stay healthy.
Thank you, B. Thank you very
Elliot
much.
Parrott. Yeah. I'll let you know the title sponsor for this hour of the program, the great folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch. I'm still bragging about my G70. I was looking through the owner's manual the other day, and I just couldn't believe all the different options you got, like the different modes that you can get when you're trying to decide how you want the engine to perform. And they do this with all the G cars, all the Genesis cars. You can go sport, you can go comfort, you can go economy, you can go performance, you can go individual. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways to go. And, of course, if you put it, let's say, in sport mode, it actually changes sort of not just the way the transmission works, but the way the setup works. And, of course, if you look at all the safety in there, whatever mode you're on, it's going to keep you from doing crazy things. It will keep you in your lane. It'll make sure you brake on time. It will keep you safe. And right now, both Homer Skelton and Genesis of Olive Branch, they got a good deal going on. 0% financing for 84 months. 84 months. You don't pay any interest. And 120 days if you buy the right model on select models. The first payment you don't have to make for 3 months. That's just amazing. Well, this is the standard for the way car business should be done. And they're so proud both of Hyundai and of Genesis that every car on the lot that's new, you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai and Genesis of Olive Branch right there at Highway 78 and Craft Road. We take a time out. When we come back, we talk a little baseball. It's baseball's turn, maybe. Are they next? Figuring out what they're going to do. Golf did it. Maybe the major leaguers are next. We'll find out from Tim Doolin because he's front and center on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats in just a minute.
Spend your lunch with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 middays, delivered by FedEx. Weekdays from 10 to 1 on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7.
Hi, folks. Bob Burkheimer for Sunrise Buick GMC Truck. A lot has happened overnight and just wanted to let you know we're open at Sunrise for all your automotive needs. Service, body shop, parts, and sales. Go online to sunrisememphis.com to schedule an appointment. Should you need a vehicle, we're offering 0% up to 84 months with deferred payments up to 120 days. You can shop online. We'll bring the car or truck to you. At Sunrise, we know you want to feel safe, so bring your car or truck to any Sunrise location and we'll disinfect it at no charge. Sunrise, stress-free and safe. Covington Pike, Wolf Chase, and Collierville.
I'm Dr. George Flynn, president of Flynn Broadcasting. On behalf of everyone associated with Flynn Broadcasting, we want to wish you good health, especially in this coronavirus situation. You can be the hero. All you have to do is practice social distancing. That's right, 6 feet away from other people, and you'll be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Also, if you feel ill and have a cough or fever, get tested so you'll know if you have coronavirus or not. I'm Dr. George Flynn with Flynn Broadcasting. We'll keep you connected while you maintain your physical social distance. So keep listening to this Flynn Broadcasting station because we're in this fight with you and we're going to help you stay connected.
Hi, this is Greg Gaston from Sports 56 Middays. During this coronavirus pandemic, many of you are spending all day at home, and we remind you that you can stay in touch and connected through Sports 56. Turn us on your radio, computer, phone, or smart speaker, and stay up to date and connected with the community. Keep practicing social distancing, and remember to wash your hands often. And hopefully, before too long, we can get back to some sort of normalcy. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay connected with Sports 56 and Sports56WHBQ.com.
Did you know nearly 40% of men under 40 and over 75% of men over the age of 40 experience sexual performance concerns? At the Memphis Men's Clinic, their experienced physician performs a comprehensive evaluation that determines which specific issues may interfere with your sexual performance. These issues can vary and range from anxiety to medical issues, low testosterone, or erectile dysfunction. The Memphis Men's Clinic has evaluated hundreds of men of all ages over the years and reestablished a normal sexual life. The Memphis Men's Clinic will work aggressively to resolve issues and allow you to restore your sexual health and overall well-being. That's the Memphis way. If you're 20 years old or 90 years old, come and get cared for the Memphis way. Treatment that's based on your specific needs after a professional clinical evaluation by their experienced board-certified physician. Call the Memphis Men's Clinic today at 901-443-0475 or visit memphismensclinic.com.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Ocean and Brett Norsworthy.
Thank you very much, Drew Barrett. We're getting ready to be joined by Tim Doolin to talk all things baseball with him, quite literally baseball up to bat. They're maybe up next for an announced return. Will be a little more unwieldy than the golf world. Golf seems perfect for it. We've talked about it, Dave, and we pretty much agree that it's perfect for it. You know, David, in this coronavirus world that we now all live in, and it really, I hope it doesn't consume people too much, but it definitely has a consumption aspect to it. One thing, I was visiting with a buddy of mine today, and he loves to A, grill out, and B, eat grilled foods, you know, off the smoker, the big green egg or whatever grill you have, Traeger. He told me today, he said, man, I'm sick to death of it. I've had enough of it. Do you grill a lot?
It's funny that you would say that. I from Family Leisure, I got myself the king of the grills a couple of years ago, and I hadn't been using it all that much until this pandemic. And I've been grilling ground beef and steaks and chicken. I did for the first time. Still looking for a good piece of fish. I'm not sure that we have been able to figure out how to acquire one of those, but I'm going to learn how to do that. Yeah, I've been grilling a lot more, no doubt about it.
And another thing about it is almost every death you hear or you see, the first thing is you think, well, was it the virus? And I ran into a different friend of mine today, and I knew his father was ill, and I saw him, and I asked him, I said, Robert, how's your dad? He said, well, he passed Monday night. I said, I'm very sorry. I didn't know. You know, I wouldn't have asked like that if I would have known. I said, well, was it virus related? He said, and he really kind of choked. He said, no, Brett, he said he was 78 and had congestive heart failure and lung issues. It had nothing to do with the virus, but everybody we hear of passing right now, we naturally, I mean, right. The nexus is virus related.
Since you bring up the passing, I meant to say this earlier. A long time ago, really, I think it was late 80s, when I came back from Dallas, I worked in the building that we work in now, but it was called We Radio back then.
Yeah.
And the owner of that radio station were the Phillips. Sam Phillips, Knox Phillips, Betty Phillips, actually the ex-wife of Knox Phillips, was the one that ran the station. And I got to know the family a little bit, and I don't know if you've heard the news, but yesterday Knox Phillips passed away at the age of 74. He was not a sports guy. He was a music guy. He was a producer just like his dad. He had a great ear.
Sure was.
He was still doing a bunch of recording at the Phillips studio. That's not Sun Studio anymore. They had their own studio, and I imagine, because his brother is still involved in that operation, that will continue. But Knox, who was really very kind to me, a guy I really liked, he passed away, unfortunately, and I don't know what the cause of death was. At the age of 74, he passed away yesterday.
But the jump is naturally to the virus. I mean, it will be studied. It will be talked about for a long 100 years, just like the 100-year ago pandemic. We talk Major League Baseball now. Tim Doolin, and all baseball, college and high school as well. Our friend Tim Doolin joins us now, and Tim, we just want anything so badly. I've said for years I think my head would explode if I saw Major League Baseball end an extra inning game like they do at the minor league. Man, Tim, I'll give on almost anything. We can play 5 innings. We can end an extra inning game with a coin toss right now. I'll take anything. Just give it to me, Tim.
I know. I'm the same way. I tell you, it seems like it depends on what news channel you watch. It's like we get a little bit of good news and bad news, and then at least Dr. Fauci's saying that he thinks that baseball should play without fans, which
Yes.
that's a good endorsement.
It was a good
I'll take
endorsement. It was a hopeful endorsement. And today, the PGA putting together a schedule and saying that the first four will be without fans. We don't know after that. That's hopeful, and that's action. And I think baseball, probably because it is still played outside, and for the most part, guys don't bang against one another.
Right.
They're probably the most likely next startup. I guess my question for you, and you know several major league players, you're still involved with a bunch of them, Albert Pujols, Mookie Betts, big names, these guys that speak for the sport itself. What is their sense about playing now without fans?
I think if you polled them, I'd say the majority of them would be wanting to do it. I mean, you got a lot of guys needing to make the money. You got a lot of guys that want to get out of the house and get back to normalcy of their careers. So I think the majority of them would say, yeah, as long as we can create a safe environment, they're fine with playing without fans. And hopefully as the season, goes on and we continue to gain ground on hopefully some of this medical stuff and testing and vaccines and all those things, that we'll start allowing fans to get back in the stands. I think it's going to be an interesting journey that we're going to be in front of us, much less what we've gone through the last month.
Yeah, and it could be a sprint when we start back to try to get in 90 to 100 games, and then, however, if they could do the playoffs, as I've said many times, I'll take it. I'm not going to be the second guesser, the Monday morning quarterback, the backseat driver, because they're having to make calls now that are truly of epic proportion that nobody. I mean, I was talking to Dr. Rudd earlier, Tim. I mean, nobody had a guidebook for this. Okay, when the worldwide pandemic breaks out, turn to page 31 to see what to do.
That's right. That's right. And, I mean, I think that, it kind of bodes well for it's in sports and anything else. Just surround yourself with good people that can help you with all the information. And then we got to make some decisions. And I mean, there's risk on both sides, but I'm a firm believer I don't think we can go another month like this. I think it's going to be economically damaging. It's going to be, people, it's going to affect people, if not worse, as worse as the pandemic itself.
I think we can go another month if we have a date certain. And all right, if they set a date for June 25th, but we're not going to resume everything until another month from now, say May 20th. I think that would allay some fears and some hostilities and some and some rancor. But if we just continued on this the kind of this continuous loop of unknown, man, it's really gonna damage people.
No, it really is, and I think everybody can stomach what you just said as long as they're opening up parts of the country that are safe. If we see progress, I think that's what we're all hoping to, is just to see something in a positive way where we're taking steps toward getting back to working and socializing.
You brought up the economics, and some of them will need money. Now, some of the guys who've been in the game a long time and have a whole bunch of money, I'm certain they could make it if they lost the season and only got some partial money, but others can't. I know there has been discussion by Major League Baseball with the Players Association in terms of if they only played 81 games, they will only get half of their payments, only half their salaries. The other thing is, and this could be an economic war. There's a story going around. It was on CBS Sports Internet. About the game asking the players to take additional pay cuts if the games are played without fans. You just mentioned they want to play, but no one has said until recently, because it's what is it, about 40%, 35-40% of the revenue does come from the fans in the stands. It's almost surprising that 65 to 70% of that actually comes from outside sources, TV money, advertising, things of that nature. But that they could ask them to take additional cuts, what would that do?
Well, here's what I could tell you upon that is if the owners came to the players union and said we think we should cut your pay because blah blah blah, the players union would say, well, show us your books to justify how much you're talking, and we'll talk.
I don't blame them.
Guess what? Those owners have never been willing to open up the books, and they're not going to want to open up the books. I'm just telling you.
But I can't blame them for that.
Yeah.
Do you blame them for that?
You can't blame the
Tim?
players either.
No.
No.
I'm more player. I'm pro player.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying if you're asking the players to take a cut because you're losing money based on the number of whatever dollars we're talking about, they should show the players union. They're not going to want to do that.
Because there's too many places, Houston, St. Louis, Boston, San Francisco, the Dodgers. I could go on and on. Of course, there are the Cubs. There are some that aren't. But there's about 20 to 23, 24 that unless they've got a bad thief in the office, they're making boatloads of money.
Oh, yeah. Well, and the value of these clubs continue to go up because there's someone else out there that's ego's bigger than the last guy, and he's got the money to do it. So, anyway,
what if the Yankees are $5 billion now? That's their price.
Yeah, that's crazy. But
I'm
optimistic. I'm optimistic, guys. I think we're gonna start making progress from here on out. It's the only way to think.
I'm sort of with you, and golf made that big move today. I'm going to ask you what I asked Bob Carpenter a couple of days ago. He was on with us. If they played the Grapefruit League, Cactus League thing, they did away with leagues this year, and they played every game would be somewhere else. So in other words, if you're a Cub fan or a Cardinal fan or a Washington National fan, you're never in your ballpark to watch. And honestly, there's not any fans anywhere. It's strictly on TV. Do you think, since you never go to the ballpark to become a part of that team, and there's no set probably schedule where, okay, 7 o'clock it's game time because they're going to have to rotate those. Well, do you think people will still have that same interest they've always had?
Initially, yes, because we're yearning for live sports. And baseball fans are dying to see baseball. Now, will that wear on the fan? It would wear on me. And I think what they're doing is hoping that they could start, the season and then gradually get to their own ballpark, and that way the games are probably on schedule with what their contract was with their regional broadcasting people. So,
Tim, give me one of these new managers that you are really looking forward to seeing in his first year. I'm going to start with the National League. David Ross in Chicago, Joe Girardi in Philadelphia, J.C. Tingler, who knew, in San Diego, Gabe Kapler in San Francisco, Derek Shelton, who knew, in Pittsburgh, and Luis Rojas in New York and Queens with the Mets. Which one of those National League managers were you looking most forward to watching his first year with his club?
I think Ross more than anybody, as far as looking forward to seeing. I think he's going to do really, really well. He obviously connected with the Cubs front office and all the players, and I think he's very real watching him on TV. But it's a little bit different when you go from being a teammate and a friend to now being the boss. So I'm sure he's going to be a learning curve for him, and then it'll be interesting for me to see, how this new Mets manager is going to do, and Felipe Lu's son. I hope he does well. I know he's a longtime Mets organizational guy, has a lot of respect within the organization, but at the end of the day, that respect kind of goes out the window if you don't win in New York, rather it's with the Yankees.
That first 8-game losing streak, it's gone, isn't it? And in the American League, I think it's a given. We're all looking forward to seeing Joe Madden in Tinseltown with the Angels.
Absolutely. He's back where he really spent the bulk of his whole career. As both a minor league guy and then all the way through the big leagues as a bench coach. But it'll be interesting to see how I think he'll do really well. I think obviously Albert's very easy to manage and easy to get along with, and then with him adding the third baseman from the Astros, it's going to be interesting to see if they've got any pitching at all. And God knows how the season's going to start and how there's going to be teams that are going to surprise us if we do get to play, and that are going to end up being in the playoffs just simply because they're so versatile on the mound.
I think Joe Madden's going to be interesting because I don't know that the Angels are going to be as competitive as everybody might suspect. And Joe's had a great team for the last few years, even going back to Tampa.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, I think he's had some good clubs, but I do think he's a good manager. I really do. Eccentric, yeah, but I think he relates to the players, which is critical. So it will be interesting to see how he does.
You brought up Albert earlier, and obviously if he was able to contribute much this year, that would go a long way to the Angels' success. But here's a guy who went to spring training, was starting at his age, and Lord knows how old he really is. He's starting to limber up and get ready, and now all of a sudden it stopped, and he's got to go home. And I assume he's quarantining with his family, or staying safe with his family in Los Angeles. So that means he's, I don't know if he's got a gym in his house or not, but
he does.
It's not quite the same. I mean, to me, the older guys, Yachty's another guy. Those are the kind of guys that I think this hurts the most.
Yeah, I think it depends on whether they had a nagging injury going into last off season and really could use this time to continue to rehab and get more healthy. But yeah, if it's just someone that's on the back end of their career that's somewhat healthy, but yet the legs don't get loose quite as easy and the arm doesn't. So yeah, I mean it'll be interesting to see. Albert doesn't play the game, and no disrespect, he doesn't play the game as hard as he used to. I mean, he's not going to try to beat out an infield ground ball. I mean, he's smart enough to not do that. But so I think he's probably got a pretty good handle on how his body feels and what he thinks he can do. Obviously, it's going to be a restart situation.
Tim, it's always a pleasure chatting with you. We had double the pleasure this week. We got you twice. If anything breaks, obviously we'll have you on again. I do think it's baseball's turn next. There's no question about that.
I agree with that.
And maybe we'll have something good to say in the next week or two.
Let's hope.
Let's hope so. Thank you, Timmy. We appreciate it.
All right, guys. All right.
Take care.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Stay healthy. That's our man on baseball, Tim Doolin. He is brought to you in part by the commissary and Mr. Norsworthy. I think we're going to do a big cue here. So
tell me when.
Let's ask the question, and I'll tell you about the commissary, and then after the break, we'll take your phone calls on the First Bank phone lines at 360-8255, 360-8255. I hope you're as nice and kind as you were the other day.
I think it is nicer and maybe kinder and gentler, you could say, Dave, because it is super easy. There's a lot of conversation about Washington taking a quarterback, moving up to take someone maybe in the 2 spot, or maybe even trading into the 1 spot. Tell me the last time Washington took a quarterback in the first round. The last time Washington took a quarterback in the first round. The first time they did it was 1937.
The first time they did it, 1937. Who was that guy? I think I was around for that.
Slinging Sammy Ball. When was the last time they did it?
Sammy? Ooh, the last time. So Sammy was the first. Who was the last? If you know, you get a 6-pack from the commissary. That could be Germantown Commissary in that little quaint area where they are serving curbside, or that could be at the Collierville Commissary. You know, the new giant palace they have right there at Houston Levee Road and on Poplar. And that place is beautiful. That place, you could drive up and ask for curbside, but you can also go through the drive-thru. They got a drive-thru there. They make it so easy. It gets a little busier around the dinner time period, but not impossible. And if you go a little bit later or a little bit earlier, like if you headed there right now, you would be in great shape. If you want ribs, if you want shoulder, if you want chicken, if you want tamales, if you want spaghetti, if you want banana pudding, if you want icebox lemon pie, that's Stat's favorite. they've got it. And they'll, again, call in advance, make it easier on yourself, give them a credit card number, or you can do it at the curbside, or you can do it through the drive-thru. Either way, the Germantown Commissary is still in business, and they are doing blockbusters, and you can still enjoy your cue from the commissary. So again, get your Google stuff out. Who was the last quarterback the Washington Redskins took first round as a QB in the draft? If you know, you get a six-pack from the commissary. We'll take your calls again at 360-8255, but first this time out on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Want to get your voice heard? Hit us up on the First Bank phone line or First Bank text line.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Termbusters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Termbusters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
This is Eli Savoy from Sports 56 Middays. During this coronavirus pandemic, many of us are spending all day at home, and we remind you that you can stay in touch and connected through Sports 56. We're here live and local every day, keeping you informed and entertained as we all try our best to get through this healthy and safe. So turn us on your radio, computer, phone, or smart speaker and keep practicing social distancing. Stay home, stay informed, and stay entertained with Sports 56 and Sports56WHBQ.com.
I'm here with Robert Cox, kitchen manager of the Rendezvous Restaurant. Tell us about those great ribs at the Rendezvous.
Rendezvous stands alone in a unique barbecue style, only found in Memphis, Tennessee. We don't smoke our ribs, we char-broil them. The guys cooking our ribs have been doing it for 30 years. Mr. Charlie Virgos taught the guys the technique himself, and still to this day, they teach newcomers that come in the door. After our ribs come out the pit, we pre-cut every order, so you easily can tear them apart. We baste our ribs on a plate and sprinkle our season all over them.
So Robert, are ribs what everyone comes to the Rendezvous for?
The beef brisket is now our second best seller behind the ribs. We also have lamb riblets, half chicken, pork shoulder, chopped chicken, cheese and sausage plate. Nachos are fantastic. We also carry a Greek salad. The list goes on.
Robert, where can we find out more about all of these great options?
Our restaurant menu is online at hogsfly.com, and recently we just added our catering menu online.
Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous Restaurant, a family-owned restaurant in downtown Memphis in the alley since 1948.
Now, more of Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
What a great idea for dinner tonight. Right now, drive through either the commissary in Collierville or the original in Germantown. Get it to go. Everything safe, everything quick and efficient for you. Just swipe and go, and you've got your barbecue for tonight, and we've got a big queue out. And the question, it is, next week with the draft, there's some conversation that Washington may take a quarterback, yet another quarterback. Who was the last, and when was the last time Washington took a quarterback in the first round? Dave, I thought it was simple, easy. Let's see if Mark knows. Good afternoon, Mark. Do you know? Hey, Mark.
Griffith III.
No, that was in 2012. They did take him then with the second overall pick, but they have taken one since then. Thank you, Mark. 360-8255.
Think more current. I thought you were really being nice. We had a texter on the First Bank text line at 67129 who absolutely had that thing.
Well, let's let him
nailed.
win then. You want to let him win?
We could. Yeah,
we sure could. All
Let's
right,
do
texture with the last 3 digits ending in 299.
9.
You're a winner. It was last year. Dwayne Haskins last year, 15th pick overall, and he was taken by Washington last year. They had Haskins last year. They had RG3 in 2012, Jason Campbell in 2005. With the very last pick of the first round in 2002, they selected from Tulane Patrick Ramsey. In 1994, they took Congressman Heath Shuler. In 1961, they took Norm Snead. 1960, Richie Lucas. Give me everything you know on Richie Lucas. I know nothing.
Nothing.
1959, they took Don Allard. 1955, Ralph Guglielmi from Notre Dame. 1953,
Yep.
Jack Scarbath from Maryland. 1948, the old cowboy from Alabama. He was pretty good for him. Harry Gilmer. 1945, Jim Hardy. 1937, fresh off winning a Heisman Trophy at TCU, slinging Sammy Baugh. But it was Dwayne Haskins last year. Drew, take care of our texter, okay?
Doing it now. The bottom line is, if you're moving up to draft another quarterback in the first round, the year after you took with the 15th overall pick your quarterback, that means you didn't do such a good job the year before.
Well, it was the reason all those people were fired too, Dave.
I do think. Are you totally convinced Haskins is not the guy?
I am not. I think I would give it another year.
You, but our guy, Bo Marchionte.
He was very anti.
Oh my goodness! I mean, there's no question in his mind that.
And you know he's
Haskins
hearing that
is a bust.
And he's hearing that from other scouts and things.
Sure.
His sourcing. But with that defense, do you waste that defense for very long? Because it's really rugged. It will get better if they take Chase Young, and they probably will, and try one more year. And now it's big money to the rest of us, but the first-round quarterback bust, it doesn't hurt you like it used to.
No, because it's slotted. So you're right.
That's huge money, but it doesn't crush your cap, or you can move right on. I mean, used to what RG3 would have done to a franchise, it would have been unrecoverable. Well,
right.
maybe that's for Washington.
You can go back to other. Ryan Leaf is one of those guys where they spent a lot of money, and it was a total bust because back in those days you didn't have it slotted. That was the smartest thing they did. And so, if you did make a mistake,
very smart.
That very first pick, it wasn't. It's not as critical as it would have been back then. And I would give Haskins. I would. Well, you know me. I'm in love with Chase Young. He's my new guy crush. But I think he's the real deal in this draft. I would go for him, and then I'd give Haskins one more year. And if it doesn't work, try to go free agent or draft a quarterback, because that's the beauty. Another one is going to come along. It does every year. That's 2 hours in the books. So we got our friend Jason Munns from the Commercial Appeal. We'll talk a little bit with him about Jalen Green's decision to go G League today. What will the Tigers do? Beyond that, he's the beat writer for the Tiger basketball program with the Commercial Appeal. He comes your way next. I'll let you know this portion of the show is brought to you by Conway. Conway services heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and the best tune-ups ever. I mean that. It's a 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up that you can get right now. It's $69. If you call now, it's early bird. It's $57. And what they do is they check for leaks now. They'll do this leakage check. That's right off the bat. But they come in and they tune you up. There's 16 points inside that they really take care of and make sure all the parts are working and working together. It's all about efficiency, and then it cools your house without killing your MLGW bill. And they replace the filter inside, and then they will walk outside, and they'll go to where your outside unit or units are, and they clean those up. They take off the outside container. They go in, they get all the leaves and all the dirt and all the grime that's in there, clean it out like taking your system to the car wash. Then they'll put a little Teflon coating on the blades so that protects it from the hot summer sun, and you're set. And you'll see the difference in your MLGW bill while you sit comfortable in your house. For $69, and if you do it this week, $57. Please call 384-3511. 384-3511. That's Conway Services. Heating, cooling, plumbing, electric, and home of the 16-point Energy Saver Super Tune-Up. Back in a minute with Jason Munz on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses. I Buy Houses will buy a house in any area, in any condition, and yes, it's guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your home quickly, call 901-406-1101. If you've been through a divorce, if you lost your job, if you're tired of renters, I Buy Houses can get you your money quickly. I Buy Houses will buy your home in Shelby County, DeSoto County, Memphis, Bartlett, South Haven, Horn Lake, Olive Branch, anywhere and everywhere in between in any condition. And yes, they're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I Buy Houses, 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Grab that pen, 901-406-1101. I Buy Houses.
Right now, it feels like the world's standing still. But if you look to the land, it's a whole different story. From farms to backyards, wheels are turning, seeds are being planted, animals are getting fed, grass is growing, and families are giving their all to the soil. Because no matter how uncertain things get, the land never stops. So to all those linked to the land, John Deere says thank you. We're here for you because we all run together. Nothing runs like a deer.
Start your day at Sunrise Memphis. Located in Midtown, enjoy delicious biscuit sandwiches and all their menu has to offer with quick and easy to-go and delivery options. Whether it's breakfast, brunch, or lunch, don't distance yourself from great food. For more information on Sunrise Memphis, visit sunrise901.com or call 901-552-3144 to place your order. Stay healthy and eat Sunrise Memphis today.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ Memphis, WIVG-FM Tunica Memphis, and WPG-FLP Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations. Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Third and final hour on this Thursday, every Wednesday at 5 o'clock during the college basketball season. Jason Munz was so kind to join us. I've missed visiting with him in this respite after the college basketball season ended. But we will visit with him today about Tigers recruiting. And I know the news is a little bad out there on the Tiger front, but we'll see what Coach Hardaway can do on the transfer front. And still in recruiting. We visit with Jason Munz after I tell you about the sponsor of this hour, and that's DeSoto Auto Sales. They're very proud to serve DeSoto County and the surrounding area. They're at 5704 Goodman Road. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. Check out their referrals online at DeSotoAutoSales.com. 662-890-7184. Very high standards at DeSoto Auto Sales. All the cars test driven, all the cars checked out bumper to bumper. Unlimited inventory, every make, every model. And if it's not on the lot, they'll go out and find it for you at DeSoto Auto Sales. No shortcuts taken. When you walk in, you're treated like family by a conscientious, courteous staff that they want you to have the down-home environment, laid-back atmosphere, sales experience. But they also want you to have the ultimate car experience because they know we're living in a world today that time matters. They want you to be able to walk in, meet, deal with your sales rep, test drive your car, credit approved, paperwork completed, all in 45 minutes. At DeSoto Auto Sales at 5704 Goodman Road, online at DeSotoAutoSales.com. Come on down to DeSoto County for that town and country experience at DeSoto Auto Sales. Jason Munz, I say today was a bellwether, historic, revolutionary day for college basketball. Dave and I are both old enough to remember Moses Malone straight from high school to the ABA, and I saw Moses Malone at the Coliseum with the Utah Stars in the ABA. I don't know if it's that big a day, but today changed the deal, didn't it?
Completely. I mean, it really didn't take long either. I mean, the dominoes are beginning to fall quite rapidly. Isaiah Todd was really the first one. I mean, you know, he's not as big a name necessarily as Jalen Green is. So today feels, you know, a little different. But, I mean, Isaiah Todd decommitted from Michigan just a couple of days ago and made his intentions known that he was turning pro. And then Jalen Green, and now another top 10 class of 2020 prospect hasn't even waited until the next day. He has, just talking about Greg Brown, the 5-star prospect who has Memphis in his top 5 finalist picture, has updated his finalist picture. I don't know if you guys saw it. He's updated his list of finalists to include what else? The G League.
Well, how can you blame these kids? If you think about it, Jalen Green is going to get $500,000. He'll probably get another $500,000 from a shoe company. Now you're talking about $1 million deal. And as I mentioned earlier, you're not going to be riding the bus with the G League guys. You're not going to be competing against 25-year-olds that want to take your head off. You're not going to have to get up for a 5 a.m. flight. You're going to be in style in a whole new thing. And this is what the NBA is choosing to do. It's a smart business model on their part, and frankly, it's not the $30,000 that Jeremiah Stokes is getting, but it's $500,000 or $1 million if you count the shoe deal. How can a guy turn that down? How could Greg Brown, if he's going to get the same deal as Jalen Green, who, by the way, said he would have been a Tiger if not for this offer, how can that kid not take that?
He can't. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, I don't know. There's always two sides to every story, and you know, we think about it in terms of, you know, most people would be kind of loopy if they turn down that much money, you know, that's just sort of handed to them on a silver platter to kind of go live it up and play 20 exhibition games. I mean, they're, like you said, that amount of money to go play 20 exhibition games, especially for a guy like Jalen Green, who is from California, you know, who lives in California. He's not having to go far. He's getting to stay right there in his own backyard, according to reports. You know, this new team, this new deal that they've worked out is going to be right there in Los Angeles. So, you know, again, he's getting to stay home, make that kind of money for not very much work, not having to go to class, not having to, you know, practice probably too often or too hard, the way, you know, college teams would push guys in practice. So yes, for that you cannot. I mean, I think it would be silly to think that most people would choose the other route, the college route. But at the same time, you know, you think about it, hockey and baseball. You know, you see it all the time. These young high school baseball players are drafted, and they get these signing bonuses thrown in their face and things like that. And sometimes they pass it up. Sometimes they go to college. So, you know, there's like I said, it's hard to imagine anybody passing up that sort of thing, especially when you're an 18-year-old kid. But, you know, it does happen.
Jason, when do you think Coach Hardaway and his staff first realized that we're not only competing with Auburn and LSU and Kentucky and UCLA and Duke, we're dealing with somebody that can wave around wads of cash with no inhibition about it?
Well, it's kind of it's a tough question. I mean, in my heart of hearts, I believe Memphis knew that these guys that they're going after, the Jalen Greens, even the James Wisemans, the Precious Achuas, the Greg Browns, I think they've known, all along that, it was at least a possibility that they might decide to play overseas, or they might take this G League, go this G League route, which became a possibility in October of 2018, not that long after Penny Hardaway was hired. So I do think they've known all along. What changed the game was the stuff that came about this week, when it was no longer $125,000 plus whatever endorsement deals. It became maybe $250,000, maybe $500,000 plus all the extra money that they'd be able to make based on their.
That's impossible to go against.
Yeah, it is, and especially so late in the game. I mean, I think Jalen Green said it himself. If everything was the way it was 2 weeks ago, he'd be a Memphis Tiger today. But they switched things up last minute, and again, you cannot blame the kid. You cannot blame the kid's family. The issue is with the NBA. The NBA has, drawn a line in the sand and said, we want the stars as soon as we can possibly get them. And it looks like that's going to start happening.
It is interesting because it used to be they would let the colleges market the kids, then they would become stars, and they would come into the league as a star. And all you have to do is look at last year's draft with Zion and even Ja, for that matter. They came in as established guys with names and brands, and that worked. So they're going a little bit against that grain with this by sitting the kids, the top 13 to 15 guys, out. I am really curious as to when Adam Silver and the powers that be, Sam Mitchell's in the mix. He's going to be made the coach of this group. And then the former Vancouver Grizzly, and I'm trying to remember his name at the moment.
Raheem.
Yeah, Raheem. When did they decide they were going to go from 125 to 500 and do this model? Because this is, as he just said, this is new. Up until 3-4 days ago, we really thought Jalen Green was coming to Memphis. And I think that's what Precious Achiuwa was hinting at when he made his two tweets, which, were teasing, and you thought, well, is he coming back, or is he talking about Green? And I have no idea now what Precious meant by all of that.
I think he meant, I think he was referring to Jalen Green. I do. And so as far as when, as far as the timing, when did Adam Silver make this decision? I don't know that anybody, I don't know that that's being reported yet. I don't know that anybody knows quite yet when they made the decision to up the ante. But it is a little curious at a time like this when everybody's tightening their purse strings. We've seen college athletic programs are starting to struggle. All these minor leagues are furloughing people temporarily and laying people off. And we saw the WWE yesterday, I believe it was, the WWE laid off, like 50 people, that's within that company. Everybody's struggling, but the NBA has decided we're going to splurge during this time. And I don't know if that decision was made recently or if it was made pre-coronavirus. I don't know. It's very. I'll be anxious to find out exactly when that happened.
Jason, did we really have lives pre-coronavirus?
I know it. I've been working on a timeline. I've been working on a timeline for commercialappeal.com, and a detailed timeline day by day since coronavirus hit the Mid-South. And I go back, and it started March 8th in Shelby County, and that just feels like so long ago. It's hard to remember life before this.
Yeah, we use our date as Rudy Gobert night, and we use it without sports, and we're on day 35. Pete Thamel from Yahoo Sports, he tweeted out about an hour ago. This is the tweet. Another bad day for college basketball, which will continue to lose top talent and recede in national relevancy. He said, I think the NBA is doing it as a big middle finger to the NCAA. Whether you agree or disagree, there's no reprisal. There's no recourse college basketball can take. The first thing, all right, that's the end of credentialing you. We're not going to let you come to practice. We're not letting you come to our games. And other coaches will go out and go, we'll let you come to our games. You come here and you go to the NBA through our place, even an off-Broadway place like Murray State. If they said, all right, we're not going to credential them. We don't want them cherry-picking our guys. No, they don't want that because they like the aplomb and the glitz and the glamour of what Ja gave them. So there's really no way for college basketball to fire a retaliatory shot, Jason.
I think you're right as far as that goes. That it's going to take some very creative thinking to if the NCAA, retaliates in any sort of way to try to gain some leverage back from the NCAA. But I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure that. I mean, do we think that Mark Emmert is gonna? Is it possible that Mark Emmert is going to sit, digest the news of the day and think to himself, "That's fine." I mean, I mean, is it possible that he is going to react that way? Because,
just take it.
Yeah, because college basketball, I think, is still going to be fun. I mean, when you get right down to it, yes, people like to see Zion Williamson. They like to, see the superstars and everything else. But when you get right down to it, at the end of the day, they like to root for their team. And who knows? I mean, when you start weeding out the top 10, 15, 20 prospects every year, there's going to be probably more parity as a result, and that's always a good thing, I think, for sports. So, it's going to hurt, I think, from a spotlight standpoint. Come NCAA tournament time, you're not going to be able to. It's going to hurt the NCAA as far as that is concerned, but at the same time, I think it's going to help from a competitive standpoint, and maybe that's how the NCAA looks at it. It says, "Fine, we'll just keep doing what we're doing."
I think that's exactly what they're going to do. First of all, you can't fight free enterprise, especially when you're supposed to be amateur. So you may go up with cost of attendance and things of that nature, but I'm not sure this is really dire. I'm not sure I agree with Pete Thamel, and I'm not trying to be Pollyanna here. I'm just saying you're losing 13 to 15 of the top guys. What was Obi Toppin, who just won the Wooden Award? What was he coming out of high school? There's going to be stars.
I don't know off the top of my head.
There's going to be plenty of great stars that are
still
going to come into college basketball. And if you lose the top 15, that means you get the best in the next 85 top 100 plus all the rest. And and they become stars during the games. And now you and public opinion, frankly, was against the NCAA because
and we go to college basketball, like Jason said, Dave. We go to college basketball for the front of the jersey, to hear that fight song, to feel that passion of college basketball, uniquely, quite contrastly different than the NBA, but both good, but they're both very different. And we go to pull for the colleges, and if there's 15 taken out, it ought to be pretty equitable. And if there's a round of parity, Jason, as you alluded to, I'm fine by that.
Yeah, and the other thing is, as we've seen today and this week, it's not always going to be the top 13 to 15 guys. I mean, Cade Cunningham is the number one prospect in the country, and he's not going anywhere. He's staying at Oklahoma State, even though they probably offered him, quite a bit of money to go somewhere. Terrence Clark, the guy who signed with Kentucky, he came out and tweeted earlier today, just to put everybody's mind at ease, I'm not going anywhere, talking to Big Blue Nation. So, and he was a very, very sought-after prospect. Jalen Suggs is a guy who a lot of people thought was going to go pro no matter what, decided to commit to Gonzaga, and he's honoring his commitment. So, I mean, I do think that it will eat a chunk. The NBA, this new deal is going to, take a big bite out of the top of the talent pool. But I think the NCAA at the end of the day is going to say that's fine. We're built off rivalries and school spirit and all that stuff. It should make, like you said, it's going to increase the profiles of those guys who might not have had the as big a spotlight on them to begin with.
The stars will be made during play, in conferences, and rivalry games, or when the NCAA tournament starts, and that will still be the case. And you're going to forget about the guy that went to this elite league until he's 2 or 3 years down the road playing in the NBA. I hate that you lose some stars. I do. But I certainly don't think it's the end of the world, and I think it takes a little pressure off the bad press that you've been getting forever with the one and done, and you're not allowed to go, and they don't get any money, and you're making all the money. Some of that will be relieved a little bit with this.
Yes, I agree. I was going to make that point as well, that this, the NBA might actually be doing the NCAA a favor, and some of these schools that have had to deal with the super big microscope that they come under whenever they sign somebody like a James Wiseman. That headache may not be. Just picture this: if Memphis, if this had happened last year, and James Wiseman decided to, bypass college altogether, imagine how different this year would have gone, imagine how different things would feel right now if they hadn't gotten James Wiseman and they weren't going through the IARP deal right now. And I made that point to you a few days ago, Steph. This missing out on Jalen Green may not be the absolute worst thing. It may actually be a pretty good thing at the end of the day for Memphis.
Do you think this changes now Penny's way of thinking? Instead of going solely, and I'm sure he'll still try to get the top 10-5 guy, but put more reliance on the top 20 to 30 guy, because that's the guy that you could still get and change a program.
I think you have to. I think that's exactly how he's going to go about this. He's going to still, he's not going to not try to get the Jalen Greens and the Greg Browns of the world moving forward. That being said, he has to, and everybody else is the same way. They have to change their approach. They have to adjust their lenses, so to speak, because you can't get. Memphis can handle it this year if they don't get. Obviously they didn't get Jalen Green, and they're probably not going to get Greg Brown, but they can handle that. You know what I mean? Like, this is a year where they can handle it because they recruited so well last year. But if things go well for a lot of those same kids that came last year, Lester Quinones, Boogie Ellis, DJ Jeffries, if things go really well for those guys, they may be headed to the pros after next year, and you're going to have to sign a bunch of guys, and you cannot afford, if you're Penny Hardaway, to get caught in this type of situation next year with so many spots to fill. Like I said, you can do it you can absorb it this year. Next year, not so much.
What is he? He just lost Green. He probably wasn't going to get Brown anyway because Shaka Smart didn't get fired at Texas. Where do you think he fills these two? It's the transfer portal, grad transfer. Where will Penny Hardaway go to replace the two spots he still has open?
Well, I think the next order of business is figuring out what Moussa Cisse is going to do, whether he's going to reclassify or not, because I think that's the ideal scenario, because he's not eligible. If he reclassified, he's not old enough to to take this G League opportunity. You know, he couldn't go yet. He's not old enough. So, you know, I think that's priority number one for Penny Hardaway, is figuring out what he's going to do. And if he does reclassify, go get him. And if you do land him, I think that's your ideal scenario.
That's
and
pretty
then
good.
That would make everybody feel a whole lot better about the way things have gone, if they can get him. And then, you know, if they do with that one other spot, I think you're looking at either a grad transfer or somebody who has to sit a year, whether that's Landers Nolly, the guard from Virginia Tech, or somebody else. Maybe it's nobody. I mean, again, this is a talented roster they've got coming back. Tyler Harris, Alex Lomax, Boogie Ellis, Lester Quinones, Damian Ball. I mean, they've got a really, really nice roster coming back. Is it necessarily, you know, a team that you would project going to the Sweet 16, the Final Four? No, but it certainly, you would think, could contend for an NCAA tournament spot. And really, again, after how many years now without an NCAA tournament appearance, I think that's step number one. And then once you can get back to, you know, going to the dance, then you start figuring out how to get to, you know, Sweet 16.
He is Jason Munz. We miss talking to you. As Brett said, I hope you and your wife are all healthy. I know you're working hard from home, and you know, we'll probably call you in the next couple of weeks when we sort of have an idea what may be happening on Penny Hardaway's near future. Thank you, Jason.
I can't wait. It was good talking to you guys.
That is Jason Munz, Tiger beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. He's brought to you in part by Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken is the guy you got to turn to if you're building that incredible new house. He's the guy you got to turn to if you're looking for a piece of land that might be perfect, you're not sure what to do. He's the guy to turn to if you've got a piece of land, but you are not exactly decided which is the best way to go. Or he's the guy you don't want to move. You'll love your location, but you want modern amenities. He's the guy for renovation with innovation. Go see what I'm talking about. Go to kengarland.com. Incidentally, there's a new development he's involved with. It's a Leylon. It's a gated community that is being built by Boyle, and of course, Ken's involved. It's on Messick Road, just east of Kirby, all the way to McVeigh. 4-bedroom homes starting at $875,000. So go to kengarland.com and then make the call. Ken is a guy, he's just an interesting guy to talk to. 751-1632. 751-1632. Talk to Ken, and you'll start building. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. We'll take a break. When we come back, there is some sad news, breaking news, that we'll tell you about. And then we will replay a very interesting conversation from earlier in the day with University of Memphis President M. David Rudd. That's next on Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Peter Edmiston and C.J. Hertz. Right here on Sports 56, 96.1 and 87.7 FM.
Hey, it's Flo with a super weird word, nightgown. If you ask me, it sounds less like clothes you wear to bed and more like things you say to your clothes. Good night, capri pants, sleep tight sweaters, nightgown. We've got a big day tomorrow. Now a weird word I just made up, flotection. It sounds like great protection for your new home through me and Progressive, and that's because it is. I said goodnight, capri pants. Go to sleep.
Save an average of 17% on car insurance when you bundle home and auto through Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. During these challenging times, our commitment to providing you with the best mortgage experience remains. We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. Mortgage rates remain near historic lows. If you think that now is the right time to refinance your mortgage, our home loan experts are available to help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at rocketmortgage.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Sports 56 would like to recognize local businesses that are out there still feeding and providing for the community via curbside pickup. Let's support local business with your business. These local businesses include Central Barbecue, Sunrise, Sweetgrass, Humdingers, Germantown Commissary, Jason's Deli, Corky's, East Coast Wings, Moe's, and Soulfish Cafe. Sports 56 appreciates the support of local businesses always, but especially during this time. Thank you.
Commitment, dedication, perseverance. At FedEx, our people are our strength. Even during these unprecedented times, we are delivering medical supplies, test kits, and the things you need every day. Helping the world move forward together. Strength, what we deliver by delivering. FedEx.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brett Norsworthy.
Our replay of Dr. Rudd coming up after Dave with some news.
Yes, this is the second now NFL star that we know of who has tested positive for COVID-19. Earlier, it was, yesterday, that LA Rams center Brian Allen told Fox Sports he had COVID-19. Today we learned Denver Broncos star linebacker Von Miller has tested positive for the virus. Agent Joby Brannion told the NFL Network, he said he is in good spirits. He plans to speak publicly on Friday. Von Miller himself tomorrow will speak. I'm assuming he's going to do it over some sort of Zoom setup, but
MVP of Super Bowl 50, Von Miller.
Yeah. So that hits home, I guess, just a little bit one more time. In the meantime, we know how positive Dr. M. David Rudd, president of the University of Memphis, was just a couple of days ago in an interview, and he carried that optimism over with us a little bit earlier today. Let's start with that optimistic outlook. You certainly seem that way when you said you had a good sense that we would have people on campus and maybe even play college football this fall. Dr. Rudd, you still feel that way after all the new models have come out in the last couple of days? Good afternoon.
Hey, Dave. Hopefully you're doing well and your family and all are safe.
We are. Thank you very much for asking. I hope you and your wife and family are as well.
We are. Thanks. I think so, Dave. I mean, I think, certainly health and safety is at the forefront for all of this. But I think you're seeing some of that now in terms of national conversations about how do we, in a safe and healthy way, move forward. The president is going to actually offer some guidelines today about that process. I think you're going to hear more and more of that over the next 30 to 90 days. It certainly will be dramatically different than it's ever been. I mean, there's no question about that. Things will be different. But I do think that we'll see some movement back to a new normal.
Dr. Rudd, I know you are ahead of the game when it comes to the online. I think I read it was 17% of the classes that you offered now were online. But if we had to use that model for a long period of time, how much financial stress is there on schools? Would you have to close buildings on campus if they're not being used? What would be the long-term solution to something like that?
Well, the short-term impact has been significant. We're still evaluating the short-term. We are, as I'd mentioned in a discussion a couple of days ago, we are in good shape through the summer. If we look into the next fiscal year, we'll have to calculate and project, just like all universities will. It would be substantial if that were the case. I don't have a range of numbers I could give you at this point, but it would depend on how many students that impacts and what that looks like for us in any university nationally. But it would be substantial if we had to continue in an online capacity. We've made that transition pretty easily in some ways. And we certainly got a lot of faculty and staff working incredibly hard to make that happen. But we have a lot of experience, a lot of expertise, really good foundation in that area, and made that transition smoothly. We can certainly continue that. But what I hope that we will see, and my guess is that we will see some transition to some hybrid over the course of the coming year, whether that means the fall semester is pushed back or there are significant modifications in how it's delivered.
Dr. Rudd, do you currently in your budgeting, do you have a rainy day disaster fund?
We do. Over the course of the last 5 years, we've done well, and over that period of time, we have created strategic reserves as a part of that. I don't know if you remember, but about 7 years ago, the university had a fairly significant financial challenge and had a significant deficit. Over the course of time, we've closed that gap and done well, and that's allowed us to create a rainy day fund that will certainly help, but it won't weather the storm indefinitely. It's helping us this summer. It's helping us over the course of the spring semester, so we have not had layoffs or furloughs in the spring semester, and we won't over the course of the summer. But as we look into the new fiscal year, we'll have to look at all alternatives.
If all these models are right and we are starting to maybe get approaching not just flattening the curve, but come to the descent part of it, what do you think a class, if you are allowed to go back in the fall, what do you think the classroom will look like compared to what we know a class is normally?
Dave, I think it'll be dramatically different through the course of the fall until there is a vaccine for this and health and safety can be assured. And what I say by that is, you'll have dramatically smaller classes and hybrid classes. And so don't be surprised if you look at models where you see a class of, let's say, 45 students where it is delivered both face-to-face and electronically simultaneously, so that any one student only comes to the face-to-face class, let's say once every 2 weeks. So you get your opportunity to rotate into the face-to-face class. The rest of it is delivered electronically, virtually for you. So that it would be some hybrid model that allows people to maintain safety and health guidelines while we do this. So I think you'll see some new evolution in terms of what happens that allows a campus to function with new guidelines.
Do you have a hard date? Do you have a hard date with on when to start or announce the fall semester?
We do not. We're working on 30-day cycles right now, so we're reevaluating about every 30 days as new data comes in. All of the decisions that we're making are empirically based, scientifically driven, using the best data locally and across the state and across the country. We do not have a hard date. I know that some people have projected dates in June that they've looked at. I would argue probably not until the middle of the summer would we really be forced to make a decision about what direction to go. Whether looking at continued online was really an issue or whether or not we needed to start that transition. We'll be prepared on either end of that.
But we know for sure that this class this semester is finished online, and also summer school will be online this year, correct?
That is correct. That's absolutely correct.
And the hybrid model that you talked about, Dr. Rudd, because I worry about the future of colleges and education, and I know the financial stress, not the University of Memphis per se, but a lot of schools that they will be facing. Look, we saw Cincinnati have to drop soccer just the other day. Can that hybrid model work economically for the survival of schools as we know it?
It's a great question. I would tell you that there are a lot of things that I'm not sure that people recognize or understand about the function of universities and about auxiliary services and other activities on the university campus that create and generate revenue. So as a part of that, you look at the investment in the infrastructure that has been made in housing and dining on campus. That is considerable. Those kinds of models don't provide essentially a financial model that supports that over the long term. I think the majority of us, and I think probably nationally, if you look at the leading scientific evidence, would suggest that in the spring you'll see the emergence of treatments and potentially a vaccine within 12 to 18 months. But this is a time-limited problem. And so most of us are approaching it from that perspective, that this really is a time-limited challenge. It's highlighted some of the things people miss about face-to-face, about being in a classroom, about relationships, and about those informal aspects and the residential aspects of education that are so valuable.
I know you are scouring through every possibility, but first and foremost, the safety and the health of your student body, and then potentially for your fans out at football, along Tiger Lane and in the stands at Liberty Bowl Stadium. Is one of the bigger questions the liability issue?
I don't know that we've ever driven decisions based on liability is the core concern. I think certainly those priorities of health and safety are at the heart of that. And particularly when you look at a global pandemic, the issue of risk is certainly a concern. We want to make sure we take care of all of our employees, all of our faculty, staff, and students, and our fans as a part of the process. I do think that there is active engagement and some pretty significant discussion nationally about what it would look like to go back and to try to have some semblance of a football season. And there are some creative things being discussed. And at the heart of that is whether or not you can have large gatherings. I do think that there will be a significant challenge to trying to have large gatherings without a vaccine present.
That is intriguing to me. I know that the Power 5 commissioners had a conference call yesterday with the Vice President of the United States. They made it clear, and I think you've already said this too, that if kids are not back in school, there's not going to be any kind of sports season that we'd have. But if they are back, and we're hoping maybe it's that hybrid model that brings them back, would there be folks allowed in the stands? That's one. Two, I'm sure you've gone over all these, a bunch of these scenarios. Would there be a full season? Would you delay it? Would you play basketball and football at the same time? Could that be a model? Would you play only conference games? All these things going, I guess, around everybody's head. Where do you think this thing ends up?
Well, I think it probably, like most things, it probably ends up somewhere in the middle. I do think the reality is that there's a high probability that things will be pushed back. I do think that, time is one of those critical variables that allows containment of the virus and limits spread. One of the things that is going to be critical is the availability and access to testing. And one of the challenges that universities don't have that capacity. We don't currently have the capacity to test and do it on a frequent basis. And so if you're going to have certainly, if you're going to have athletes competing, they're going to have to be tested. It's going to have to be contained. It's going to have to be safe, and their health is going to have to be assured as a part of that. One of the things that does help, though, is the opportunity to be able to push some of these things back. I think there's enough creativity, commitment, innovation, and certainly there are ways, and I think even Dr. Fauci talked about this nationally, there are ways to do this that can assure the health of all of those involved. I think it is critical, and I agree with what you said earlier. It's hard to make an argument that universities that you can have athletic events and not have students on campus. We need to have students on campus. Universities are universities. They are. That is where we educate young people, and certainly we need to have our campus open in some capacity to be able to look at the viability of related athletic programs.
Dr. Rudd, without 1 year of football, how deep, how profound could the cuts be in every other department in the athletics department, in every other sport in the athletics department?
That's a great question. I would tell you that we're no different than any other department around the country. Arguably, about 80% of that revenue is generated out of football for athletic departments. It's at the heart of any major athletic department in the country. So certainly, if that happened, it would be a significant issue for those departments. But at the same time, it's going to be a significant issue for conferences. Majority of that funding is driven through the conferences. So the media rights deals are contained in the conferences. That revenue is driven by football. So it would be a ripple effect, not just from conferences to universities, but also the NCAA as well.
What was your reaction when you first heard that Cincinnati was, in your own league, was dropping soccer? That sort of hit hard for me for some reason.
It caught me by surprise, and I was a little bit surprised by that. Cincinnati is a large department. Actually, their funding level, I believe, is a little more significant than ours. It's a university with a very significant endowment. I don't have the endowment committed to memory, but it's considerably larger than the University of Memphis endowment. It speaks to the challenge of not just the challenge, but the cost of athletics for universities today.
Dr. Rudd, if we had to, would there be any examination at the Title IX legislation and laws?
That's a great question. I don't believe so. I'd be surprised by that, and given the significance and importance of Title IX, I'd be a little bit surprised by that. I certainly haven't heard any discussion around that.
Dr. Rudd, you sit on many of these athletic committees for the NCAA, and they did grant that extra year of eligibility for the spring sports. I don't know what Memphis's philosophy will be on that. I'll ask you that as part of this question, but also the transfer portal gets larger and larger. Will there be legislation passed this year that would allow a student athlete to transfer, provided we have seasons, but for that player to transfer and be immediately eligible?
I don't know that. I don't know that anything is going to happen in the near term, and a part of it is I think that these other challenges are so significant. We certainly have got, I think, for all of us, we've got a full plate and a significant number of things to juggle and address that are probably going to take precedence. Dr.
Rudd, thank you so much for all of your time. I hope you stay healthy and your wife and your family and everybody else. I know you're working 20-hour days, but we really appreciate your time this afternoon.
Hey, my pleasure. And again, you be safe and take care, and look forward to the chance to see you again at a game along with thousands of others. And hopefully that'll be in our future in the near term rather than the long term.
Amen to that. Thank you, Dr. Rudd. That was a pleasure talking with the president of the University of Memphis, Dr. M. David Rudd, just a couple of hours ago. And the good news is, right off the bat, he told you, the University of Memphis, from 7 years ago to now, has come a long, long way.
Long ways.
At righting their financial ship.
They have, Dave, and I love. Yes, we've got a rainy day fund. Is that fun? Nobody has one big enough for this titanic blow, but to have something in reserve, and his stewardship has been quite remarkable at the university.
No doubt. No doubt. This portion of the show brought to you by Genesis of Olive Branch and, of course, the good folks at Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where right now you've got a deal going, 0% financing for 84 months. That's right. You don't pay any interest for the lifetime of the deal. 0% for 84 months, and even on select models, 120 days to make your first payment. That could be on a Hyundai or a Genesis. You could have the Genesis that I have, the G70, the rocket ship that I love, that is so safe and so smooth. I absolutely have fallen in love with this. It's a pleasure to drive a car. Go see what I'm talking about. You can drive it yourself. They will give you flexible test drive. You could take it for a while and fall in love with the car. And know that all these products, Genesis or Hyundai, so good you get a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty on every new automobile. All you got to do is get on Lamar. It's Highway 78 when you pass State Line Road, and then the very first exit's Craft Road. Turn left, and you're there. Go see Chris Drew and see why I say it's the standard for all car dealerships. That's Genesis of Olive Branch and Homer Skelton Hyundai. Back with a wrap in a minute. This is Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats.
We are Sports 56 WHBQ. Listen to us daily on AM 560, 96.1 FM, or 87.7 FM.
At CDW, we get that you need a network that keeps your business moving forward.
Us for not. Backwards everything, do we?
Either way, CDW has experts who can design and implement a secure, innovative network built on Cisco DNA that learns and adapts to your needs to keep your business moving forward.
Idea good as that.
IT orchestration by CDW. It get who people. I mean, people who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/Cisco.
Hey, it's Flo with a super weird word, nightgown. If you ask me, it sounds less like clothes you wear to bed and more like things you say to your clothes. Good night, capri pants, sleep tight sweaters, nightgown. We've got a big day tomorrow. Now a weird word I just made up, flotection. It sounds like great protection for your new home through me and Progressive, and that's because it is. I said good night, capri pants, go to sleep.
Save an average of 17% on car insurance when you bundle home and auto through Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Discount not available in all states or situations.
You'll see the dedication in every single step. You'll see it in the smiles when smiles are hard to get. You'll see it in the little things that add up to success. The caring and passion are the things that we love best.
Wolf Chase Limb Brace is your Mid-South provider for orthotics and prosthetics. They are an ABC accredited facility and their practitioners are ABC certified. At Wolf Chase Limb Brace, their services include artificial limbs, legs and arms, braces of all kinds, and custom molded inserts. You can call them today at 901-507-7821 for their location on Highway 64 in between Germantown Parkway and Appling Road, or visit them at their new location in Jackson, Tennessee. That number is 731-660-5900, or visit them on the web at wolfchaselimbembrace.com.
To yours, Wolf Chase Limb and Brace.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then go to Babbel.com, download the app, and try it for free. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just go to Babbel.com and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or go to Babbel.com and try it for free. That's BABBEL.com.
Welcome back to Sports Time on Sports 56 with Wolo and Stats. This hour of Sports Time is brought to you by DeSoto Auto Sales. Here once again are Dave Woloshin and Brad Norsworthy.
Thank you very much, Drew Barrett. Drew, I love hearing Dr. Rudd. He is very involved with sports. You can tell it. He's passionate about it. I don't think you can have a too into sports chancellor, president, provost, top of the university anymore if sports is going to matter to you. Do you?
No, I don't think you can. And ultimately, it's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of incoming freshmen go to your university.
Exactly.
I mean, as soon as Alabama started to be relevant in college football again, their enrollment went up. Memphis's enrollment from when I stepped on campus back in 2013, 2014 has shot through the roof. And that's about the same time that David Rudd became president. I mean, sports just brings everything out in your university and your community to where the academic side will continue to thrive even better along with it.
Now, not necessarily at the University of Memphis, but just cross-college sports. One reason a lot of them, historically, in years past, they didn't want to really kind of dive in that in. So if something happened in one of their sports, they don't have the plausible deniability. Well, I run the university. I got an athletics director to run the athletics department. I had no clue that was going on in the ping pong department. And I don't think that's the reason to separate yourself, because if you have a strong athletics director like he does in Laird Veach and like he did in Tom Bowen, then you're not going to be too surprised by the headlines. And look, it's just a a fact of the matter. They have a school to run, but those athletics teams and that department, it really matters to a school. And you mentioned just the overwhelming interest in the University of Memphis, really unprecedented in my lifetime, like I've never seen it. And when you've got it really in concert with the president, AD, and the coaches level, you've got a great thing going. Let's get into Taco Bell Crunch Time.
For all the biggest crunch time. You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that?
Take questions again for the student athletes at this time, please.
What's happening, big dog? How you doing?
Is this thing working?
It's obviously crunch time. Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Woo! Time for Taco Bell Crunch Time. Taco Bell, home of the crispy tortilla chips, topped with a double portion of either seasoned beef or shredded chicken, plus refried beans, nacho cheese sauce, reduced fat sour cream, guacamole, and a 3-cheese blend. Nachos Bel Grande, heaping portion of chips, topped with ground beef, tomatoes, beans, nacho cheese sauce, and a dollop of sour cream. Taco Bell, home to great food you get on your way home real fast, and they bring you crunch time every day. Learned today that the PGA Tour, look, they might rightly get accused of being a little aspirational, a little dreamy, a little hopeful. Don't we need all those things right now? Tour with the new dates out. The first 4 will be fanless. Fort Worth, the Heritage at Harbortown, the Travelers in Connecticut, and Rocket Mortgage in Detroit. I hope they all go off. I don't want to be one of those, I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm ready to see it. I'm ready to see. I hope we're talking about golf results 8 weeks from today, 56 days from today, after round 1 in Fort Worth. Could have done without. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers posted at 9 wins for the season win number, and Bill Belichick and the Patriots only at 8.5. Belichick still plays in that slop AFC East. They'll go 4-2 at worst in that. The Buccaneers, they play in, I think, the most underappreciated, rough and rugged and rivalries in the NFC South. They'll go 3-3 or 4-2 at best. Tom Brady, I don't think, will make Tampa Bay a playoff team. And Bill Belichick, he's ready for next year. He's already talking about water under the bridge when it comes to Tom Brady, like he never even mattered, like he didn't win 6 Super Bowls with him. And that's the way he will be as long as Brady is out there as a potential rival. But when it's all over and they're in Canton at Tom Brady's Hall of Fame ceremony and vice versa at Bill Belichick's ceremony, that's when the truth will come out about how much they both do love and care about each other. We'll keep an eye on baseball and the NBA. They're kind of up next on revised plans or making some plans. And the seclusion sequester idea in both of them, I don't think it will work, but maybe they'll make it work and keep trying. The NBA, they want to get their money in on the 70 games played, and I can't blame them. If they have to play pickup games at the Finch Center, they'll do it, and I cannot blame them at all. They want to get their money in for their teams, for their local TV contracts. I'm ready to watch anything. If they showed pickup games at the Finch Center, I think I would watch, especially if it mattered in playoffs or even in regular season games. I wish the SEC network would show games. Every time I turn on the SEC network, and imagine that, their highest paid talent they have on Goofbomb instead of play old games. Show college football games. They've got a reservoir. They've got the rights to every game they've ever played in, and all I ever see is Paul Feinbaum on the SEC network. We want to thank Dr. David Rudd for joining us today, Elliot Perry inside Hoop City with him, Tim Doolin, and our friend Jason Munns from the Commercial Appeal. We've got a busy show to round out the week tomorrow. We hope you will make us a part of your day tomorrow. For Drew, for Dave, I'm Brett. Everybody have a healthy and safe Thursday night. Wear those masks. If you go out, be careful, be smart, wash your hands, and be back with us tomorrow at 3.
Looking for a great place to deposit your money? Try First Bank. Competitive CD rates, a money market that moves with Wall Street prime and interest-bearing checking account options. Not to mention their friendly bankers who make decisions locally. To find out more, stop by one of First Bank's 3 local branches, 6482 Poplar Avenue, just east of International Paper, 8398 Highway 64 across from Wolf Chase, and 62